Exhibition Park, the real live fun harness racing. Here they come. An exhibition park.
Welcome to another episode of the History of EPR podcast. I'm your host, Scott Bernard, and we have a big one today, people. I think you're going to enjoy this very much. We have one of the most famous families in harness racing history. I'd say legends. Let's put them at that word. We'll put them at legends. So we're gonna bring everybody on one by one. It's the Hennessey family. So first, we're gonna bring on Danny and Jody, and so there they are. Hey guys, how you doing?
Great.
How
Scott, you doing?
How are you?
Good, very good. And we're gonna bring on next. We're gonna bring on Gordie Hennessey.
Hey Scott, good to be with you today.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys coming on very much. And there's a brother too, like Wally. I don't know if anyone ever heard of him. I'm just kidding. So,
hey guys.
And there's Wally there. So how's everybody doing today?
Great.
Good kid.
Yeah, lovely.
We're ready
We're
ready for a good time, Scott.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, I got lots of questions, lots of pictures, and I really appreciate everybody coming on. I know it's getting everybody together all at once is a little tough, but I appreciate it very much. And did a lot of work. I worked with Jody's wife Shelly on a lot of pictures, and Jody Lynn helped me out. Everybody helped me, so got a lot of cool pictures, a lot of videos and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I would go over the accomplishments, but I'll just say you guys won a lot of races. Like Danny, you won a ton training. Jody, you won a bunch. Gordie, you won a bunch. Wally, you won a bunch. So I kind of won't go over all the numbers because that could be most of the podcast right there. So,
well, I won a couple of titles if we're counting.
Well, you got a lot. I got your numbers too, Danny. I have a lot of everyone's information. So,
Dan, you haven't got a wine in you there, have you?
No, I got a
non-alcoholic beer.
0.5.
Okay.
He's got about 20 of them into him.
I'm into the hot tea.
So I'm going to start out. Basically, your grandfather's Wall, who was he was involved in racing in the early days in Charlottetown. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that would have been.
You take that one, Jody.
Jody knows more about Crampy than any of us.
Well, yeah, Dad's father had a number of real good horses. He always loved the horses too, so he always bought the best that he could buy. And he started my dad out with a pretty nice horse one time by the name of True Hal, and went on to be not a great sire, but he sired a lot of horses here in the Maritimes. And he had a horse by the name of Royal at Law. And he was a real nice racehorse too. And a little story about Royal Law. We were racing down the North River Causeway on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And before the races, Buddy Shepherd and Frosty J were out warming him up, and he went through the ice.
Oh my goodness!
And Buddy jumped out of the sleigh. They were in the sleigh back then. Buddy jumped out of the sleigh, was going to run for help. He was on the causeway. Buddy was going to go to town. But anyway, they did get him out, but it was too late.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad.
So I always had nice horses.
Yeah. So he was involved, like that's the start. Would you say the start of racing really in Charlottetown? Like, what year was? If you mind me asking, if you remember, like around what year was your grandfather born? Would have been.
I wouldn't know that. I was 8 years old when my grandfather died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But I remember them having horses in our backyard.
Yeah.
At that time, yes.
And so we jump into your father, Wall, which I have a few pictures right here. I have a nice picture of you, Jody, with when you're young. But here's the first one. I cannot remember the name of the horse. It's going to pop up here.
That horse right there is a horse by the name of War Cry Ranger.
Okay.
Yeah, Dad bought him at Harrisburg sale for Francis Rowe of Moncton.
Okay.
Yeah, paid $3,000. That horse won the Gold Cup and Saucer.
Nice.
That horse right there, yeah.
So we have that one, and we have another. We have one here. I think this is right here. I cannot pronounce the name of the horse. I'll show it. You guys will know.
Yeah, that's down in North. That's down in Sydney.
Okay.
Dad win the Dosco Pace down there, the Invitational with Dominion Bird.
Okay, that's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dominion Bird went on to be a real good sire here in the Maritimes after that. And my dad also bought Dominion Bird for $3,000 at Harrisburg sale for Doug Hill.
Now, did your father race at EPR? He must have raced down at EPR sometimes, or it would have been back then. It would have been Moose Path, correct?
Yes, very little. He wasn't. He raced mostly here,
Mhm.
through the country tracks that you're talking back a number of years ago. But no, he hasn't raced much in St. John.
Okay. And I see here he also served in World War II.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Let's see. I see
I
a
don't know how much
story.
action he's seen.
I see a story here. Did he used to sleep in the stalls with the horses sometimes?
Well,
I read that in a book. Go
at
ahead.
one time when they were racing, like I said, they were racing through the country, Montague and them places. They used to load the horses in boxcars,
Mhm.
and they would string a rope across the boxcar and throw a blanket there. And it was an all-day trip there. They'd sleep in the back with the horses and
Yeah.
see what they would.
Now I see here his first drive was in 1943 with a horse named Dale H.
Yes, he was a real nice horse that his father owned it. He raced the free-for-all, Dale H. did.
Okay. Let's take a look here some more. He won 924 races. He finished second in the Gold Cup and Saucer in 1964.
Yeah, I think he was second that year. He either drove Tammany Hall or Bob Brook. It was either one of the two. I'm just not quite sure. Jack Brown and them owned a Tammany Hall.
Okay.
Bob McKenzie from Sydney owned a Bob Brook, which was a real nice horse back in them days.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen the name because of the horse that won it. I don't get the actual results. I probably could have went to Jerry McCabe and he would have told me the entire lineup and what the times were. So I'm going to show a quick video of your father. This is from a documentary from CBC. And I also have a video later on when your father's a bit older. But this one here, I think I showed the audio on Wally's podcast, but I didn't show the video. So let's bring it up here.
And that means added strategy problems for the drivers. Joe Hennessey may drive as many as a dozen dashes a day, but no two will be exactly alike. He knows what his own horse will do, but he must also know what to expect from his opponents. Today, he's driving a good gelding named Mr. Rock.
The strategy that I use before going on the racetrack, I take my scorecard and I look over the horses that are in the race with me. I figure which horse in that particular race I have to beat. Then a lot depends on the horse which I am driving. Like take for instance a horse like Mr. Rock. He's a horse that will not race in the front, so I got to get him against the fence and keep him there as long as I possibly can. And when I hit the backstretch with him the second time around, I generally look for a hole and move him, but then again, sometimes that hole is not there. And in that case, you don't come out too well in that race. But if that hole is there, you generally go on, and with a horse like him, he can finish well, and he always does pretty good. Now, there's other horses that will race behind. You got to keep them against the fence all the time. And then there's other different horses which will race good in front. Those kind of horses that are called front runners, they will go all the way in the front end. Now then again, there's an element of luck that comes into this game of racing. And if you haven't got that luck with you in that particular race, sometimes it proves a failure.
I think I don't know when that's from. I think it's the 60s, I'm assuming.
No, it would be before that. That was taken in the old barns, wood barns.
I was there when they filmed that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's funny because I actually was hunting CBC for videos, and this guy felt bad for me. He sent me that whole documentary, and then he emailed me about 2 days later. And he begged me not to put it on the page. Like, I'm gonna get fired if you put that up. I'm like, he's like, I wasn't supposed to give you that video. Yeah, that's like an hour-long documentary.
Oh yeah,
And
it's a nice documentary.
yeah.
I've seen it already. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I put it up on the Facebook page. I didn't put it on the YouTube page. I put it up specifically on the Facebook page. And I told a person who's actually deceased now, he's passed away, nice guy, it was Shaq. And he used to share everything. And I sent him a message that Shaq, do not share this video, whatever you do. No, I won't. I swear I won't do it. 20 minutes later, he shares it.
That's scary.
I said, you can't do that. Like, they're gonna. Oh, the poor guy from CBC was terrified he was gonna lose his job. I said, no, just blame me for it. So we'll get to you guys now. Let's talk about your father a little bit. I got some more stuff there, pictures a little bit. I guess we'll start with Jody because you're the oldest. What was your first memory like of being around the races? And then we'll swap between everybody. We'll go to Wally and Gordie after that.
Well, I can remember going to the races when with my dad. I used to wherever he went, I was with him. When I was 6, 7 years old, the changes that has been since then is unbelievable. But
Yeah.
anyway, no, it's I was very young when I started at the racetrack.
So it's kind of like it's automatic. It's almost like everybody.
I grew up. All the boys did. We grew up with horses, and we all loved the horses. And we were fortunate enough to have some real nice owners around us, and that's why we done probably as well as we did.
Yeah, definitely. How about yourself, Wally? Like, is that kind of the same deal for you with your first memory of being around it?
Yes. Well, I came. Dad. My dad was driving, and he had a big stable, and then Jody came along, and we all of us, including John, who's not in this segment, we all worked at the stables as young kids, probably at a necessity because he needed the help, and you weren't getting a whole lot of money back then for boarding horses, but money went further back then. The dollar was much. There was a lot more to the dollar than there is today, but and then John wasn't real keen on the horses, and then along came Danny, and Dan always was around the horses, loved the horses. He drove some early on, but he didn't find that was his niche. His niche was more training them and grooming them, and finding out their problems. Very well, top shelf at that. And then along I came. And behind me came Gordon Bernard. And, there wasn't room for 5 of us in Charlottetown or Summerside. So as young boys, that's where we cut our teeth, in Charlottetown and Summerside. And Jody was top shelf right from the get-go. He just had that natural talent. Dan really had to work at it. Me, I just don't know.
That's putting it mildly.
I'm trying to be nice here, Dan, but no. Listen, there is an act to it, believe it or not. But like Jody said earlier, you do definitely need good owners, and with good owners, come the better horses. But you don't get them by mistake. You have to work at it. You have to do good. Then I came along and took me a while to catch on. And actually, when Gord started out, Gord was the one. Even what are you, Gordie? You're about 4 or 5 years younger than me, I think.
Yeah.
And Gordie got given an old cheap horse. Her name was Top Chick. Not mare. He got her from Blair Kelly, and she was a maiden. And Gord. Dad was driving, Jody was driving, but Gordie wanted me to drive. I don't know why. I guess I must have twisted his arm or something. But
wanted me to drive. A little story there. Like when I bought the mare, I saved up all summer. I was getting $10 a week, I think, $10 a week, and I got her for $100 anyway. And Wally just got his license, and Dad said, "Are you going to put Jody in that mare? She's in to go on Saturday." I said, "No, Wally's driving." Wally, he said, "You'll not get a cent all summer." Right? So he wanted Jody to drive, but I wanted Wally to get a chance to get out there and drive. But anyways, he did a pretty good job with her all summer. We had a little fun with her. For sure.
She still holds the record there in Charlottetown for the most seconds in one season.
I think so, yeah. I remember she used to get $62.50 for finishing second. I remember the check.
Yeah, I think she had like about 15 or 20 starts, and 17 or 18 of them were seconds. She just couldn't. She just didn't know how to get to the
she'd be on the lead and everything, and let the last one go by. I remember one night there, she was in a photo with Walter Will, and I still remember the horse. It was not Kanaka Rule. That's quite a handle. Anyways, you and Walter were wondering who win, because you wanted to win too. It was all home week. But anyways, Walter ended up getting the victory. She just didn't like to win. I don't know. But second wasn't bad when you're in the maidens.
So I have a cool little picture of Jody back a long time ago. This one here, and I heard a story from your wife, Jody. It's coming up. My computer's a little slow.
Wow.
Let's see what, I think we're 10, 11 years old?
Yeah,
with,
I think I was 12. That picture was taken at Sackville Downs,
Yep.
I was out. That's Security Scott.
Yep. Yep.
He was owned by Art Craig. Yeah, I was out warming him up, taking him back after the races at Sackville.
So I heard that you kind of persuaded your father to let you do that. Took a little bit of time to get you on there.
Well, Dad wasn't much for letting you get on the bike or anything like that.
Yeah.
You had to do most of your work with Dad was done in the barn before you got to the track.
Yeah.
So he was scared one of the owners might see you. I remember a little story one time I was in Sackville in the fall. We had Dominion Bird in them there, and I was helping them. So we had one left to jog, and it was Dominion Bird. And I said to Dad, is it okay if I take him out and jog him? Dad said to me, no, you better not. Doug might see you.
Mm-hmm.
Doug was in Charlottetown.
Yeah.
I was in Sackville.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let me just. So you go. Okay, so we get to the part now, Jody. So you're the first one. You're in Charlottetown. You start driving. What year did you start driving, Jody? Like ballpark? You don't have to give me an exact year, but you know.
I was 18 when I started to drive in races. I just forget.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
But I started at 18. I started low. Back in our days of driving, all the boys were the same. You got the lowest class that was there. That's what you jumped on. You didn't jump on anything that could go on. You'd have to show them that you could handle a horse before you got to that. You know, today now it's quite a difference to throw people on some pretty nice horses. But we weren't fortunate enough to have that kind of horses to get on that. But back then it was a pleasure to get on because you didn't really get to the track until you earned it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I have a picture here. Let me find where we at.
Jody, you start to drive.
67, 60s. Yeah. It was in the 60s.
Yeah, 67, I'd say, off the top of my head.
Because you came to EPR in 71, and I have a picture. It's just kind of floating. We're floating all over the place with pictures, but I have this one here with Brian Spite.
That's Brian Spite holding Glen Towie in.
Yep.
Yeah. And Jack Brown owned him. I went over there one day to race in the top class. We weren't stable there at that time.
Okay.
I just used to ship in. I had a stable here in Charlottetown and one in St. John. I used to go over.
So I'll tell you, we'll get to something. Knee boots. My uncle, Tim Ryan, when I did Wally's original podcast, me and Tim were real tight. He said, mention knee boots to Wally. And I didn't. I forgot. And it was funny. He was like, why didn't you mention knee boots? So I'm going to ask you about knee boots, Jody, because you drove knee boots and you could tell me all about knee boots. Because that was your first big horse in EPR, am I correct?
Yes, he was one of them for sure. I remember we come from Montreal, a good buddy of mine, Mike McDonald and I, and we come to Charlottetown, and Glenn Elliott had just bought General Light for the Gold Cup and Saucer. And he also had knee boots at the same time. So he said, Art wanted knee boots in the Gold Cup as well. And Mike says, oh, I bought General Light for the Gold Cup. So Art said to me, would you mind going over to St. John with knee boots and race him Saturday afternoon? And I said, sure. I jumped at it. You know, he was a pretty nice horse. And he was going over there to race against Power Baron and them. Power Baron was only a 3-year-old at that time. Yeah. And anyway, that afternoon we went over, and I was fortunate enough that he ended up winning that day. And after that race, the Walderdale had come up.
Yeah.
So Mike said, we're on our way back up to Montreal, so he was going to stop off at Fredericton for the Walderdale. And Knee Boots was in the Walderdale along with General Ike. Anyway, don't I end up winning the Walderdale with Knee Boots? And Mike went on to Montreal, and I went back to St. John with Knee Boots, and it just carried on from there.
Yeah, I seen that you won the Walter Dale 74. That's what I read that.
Real nice little horse.
Yeah, well, it's famous. I mean, that's one of my uncle's favorite horses. He mentioned that the second I told him I was doing Wally, he's like, "Oh no, mention Knee Boots." Like, didn't care about anything else. They mentioned Knee Boots because he loved Knee Boots.
Yeah, real nice horse. Yeah.
So you raced against like my grandfather's horse, Scotch Gaumont, which is
Wally and I both raced, and Gordie raced against Bill for Scotch Gaumont. Yes, I raced against him a lot.
Yeah,
and seen the back end of him a lot too. I followed him a lot.
Royal Park against him.
Yeah.
What's the horse that you won with Wally? We mentioned the last one. It was in '79, and it's funny because I might have the program here. I can't remember the name of the horse. I don't know. It starts with an R. We talked about it the original time. Russell brought it up, and it was a really big deal that you actually beat Scotch Gorman in '79, and it was exhibition week, but I can't remember the name of the horse now. So I'm going to go to Danny. So Danny, because I don't want to leave you out there, you came right after Jody. So what is you started out? I have a few things about you here. Let me just go find them. I can bring up my notes here. Where are they hiding at on me? Yeah, they're hiding here. Give me 1 second. Your podcast notes. You worked for a man, and what was it? You got paid. Worked 14-hour days. Got paid $35. Who was that again, Danny?
Buddy Campbell. That was my first paying job at the track. Yeah, I worked for Buddy Campbell. I was about, I don't know, 15, 16 then. I quit school at 16 and worked full time for him. Then $35. And then from there, I went to Florida and worked for a guy, Del McTavish Sr. I got made a grand total of $80 a week. So it hit the big time.
Yeah. And then you so you go with, like, we're I'm jumping all over the place here, but so you come back to EPR, you're with Jody in the 80s, correct?
I used to go over when Jody was over there early on as well. Sometimes I'd go over on Saturdays with one of the owners, help him. I'd paddock some horses for him, and I probably started working for Jody full time at probably 78 or 9 when you went to St. John. When you had the 2 stables, I kind of looked after the stable here, and he was over in St. John and coming back and forth. I don't know who did you have in St. John?
Oh,
Ronnie. I'm sorry, Ronnie Madison. Yes, Ronnie was in St. John.
Danny still got some of the old money I give him.
You wouldn't be able to make one trip to Sobeys with it.
No. But anyway,
that's great.
Yeah, no. So I've been all over the place. I worked for Marcel Dostie in Montreal and Jim McGregor in Flamborough.
Yeah.
But the biggest move I ever made was when because I worked with Wally too on and and when we went to Florida, I worked other jobs as well. I worked construction.
I see. You did. You helped build the Delta, didn't you?
I built the Delta. Yeah.
Just yourself, bare hands there.
From the ground up.
It's funny. I was going through some old tapes one day. I think I was watching one, and the funny thing is when I do these podcasts, I have all these thoughts in my head, and there's a race with you, Dan, Wally. I want to think all 4 of you are in the race. Can I find that race? No chance in hell. I can't find, but I know you're in there because I remember the first time I heard it. It was like Wally, Hennessey, George, and it's Danny Hennessey. I'm like, and no offense, Dan, I'm like, who's Danny Hennessey?
Well, I didn't know. I hear that a lot in horse business. Not too many people really, other than closer people, really know who I am. Right?
But you did a lot of work.
I always was a burn man. I found out early on that driving wasn't my forte. I was on the track. I think I hit the dirt more times than I was up. But I did enjoy one little bit of success with the amateurs and the trotters in Florida. That was a fun time. That was fun. Yeah,
and I mean, you helped with a lot of success for Jody and Wally because you went to Florida with them. So, and I imagine for you, Wally, with Danny going, did Danny come over with you right away, Wally, or did you go by yourself first and then Danny came later? How'd that work?
No, Dan came right from the start. Thank God he did. But I believe Dan was helping me in St. John before we left, and when we were deciding to make that move, like our stable, we had some top shelf owners, really not top shelf horses, but top shelf owners, and it was a big move really at the time, to make that move to go to Florida. And Dan jumped right on board. He wanted to go, and that was one of my deciding factors that I knew I had him with me. So we were just going to it was a trial and error. We were going to give it a go and see how things worked out. And that was in the fall of 1986. And when we went down there, you know, it was like Danny said, it was the greatest move either one of us could have made.
Oh yeah.
Our own horses really, they didn't suit down there. They really weren't good enough. But we met a lot of people at first. I mean, there was tons and tons of people around.
Wally, let me jump in about the first time you went to the qualifiers. When we get down there, get all set up with their stock and everything, and everything's spit and polished. Wally goes over, watches the qualifiers, and comes back, and he says, "Dan, we're in trouble." One of the qualifiers at that time, that was 86, went in 56, another 57, 58. Well, we had horses go 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we're in big trouble. And we were. And we were.
Yeah, if you come from St.
You know, we met so many people, didn't we, Dan? Like, I mean, Pompano was
amazing.
It was both sides, racetrack road, huge property. And at that time, unbeknownst to Dan and I, Pompano was only 22 years old at that time. I think it opened in 64. Well, we went in 86. But I know, I think I can speak for Dan here too. We didn't really realize it was only in business like that short a period of time. But when we got there, it was the prime years of Pompano Park, because the early years of Pompano Park, it was a struggle because they didn't have, the quality and the quantity that they needed. But each year it got better and better and better. And then it really peaked in the late 70s, early 80s. And we got there in the mid 80s. And it stayed at the top shelf while we were there, a good 10, 15 years, both sides of the race, both sides of the road, training side and the racing side. And it was quite an experience. You got to rub shoulders with everybody anybody that was anybody.
Yeah.
It was intimidating at first, but once you get on the racetrack and put our horses out there, you just do the best you can do with what you got. And people seen that, and they seen the work ethic that Dan and I had, and they seen the military kind of way that we ran our stable. And eventually we caught on with some people and, just kept snowballing.
I could see when Dana says about how when you guys are looking at the qualifiers going to 56, you're down there in 1986. I mean, they're going like 2.9 in normal races, the EPR. So if you see a horse qualifying at 56, I can see why you're like, oh my God, we're dead. Like, that's a big difference, like compared to EPR.
I didn't quite come back and say it the way that Dan just described it.
Not quite in them words.
I mean, when I come back, like I think at that time, maybe my fastest mile, I don't know, would be 59, maybe. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we'll bring that up. I actually have something later on. We'll bring that up. It comes up in the later years. Your fastest mile at EPR, at least.
Yeah. So you got that, and then you go watch qualify. Like our qualifying races at home at that time, I think the standard was maybe 2:12.
Yeah.
And they were out there qualifying 56, 57, and just a different league. It was a whole different league. But you
did well. You did pretty good for yourself.
The horses, for what they were, they actually didn't they, Dan? They did for what they were. They
did. They got checks. They got checks every week. We didn't miss many checks. Yeah. They weren't always good checks, but we got a lot of checks, and we struggled our way through it. And we were going to go home, so that's a different story for another time. But at any rate, no, we did well, and like Wally said, met a lot of great people, made some good connections, and that helped us in later years.
So let me ask you guys all a question, and then I don't know if you guys all want to jump in at once, but because I have it in my notes here. So how far apart is everybody in age? Like I know Jody, you're the oldest, am I correct? And then it goes Danny.
I don't look it, but I am.
So when you guys are kids, like are you the one in charge, Jody? Like if anyone gets out of hand, are you the one who kind of gets everybody in their place?
He was our hero.
Yeah.
We all looked up to him.
I guess I showed them the way.
Yeah, he sure did.
In some ways they
Some
took a
ways work
detour.
so good.
Some ways they detoured off, but
And on the track, like when we raced against him there, he wouldn't give you an inch.
Oh,
Not an inch.
Well,
he was tough.
You got your $2 worth out of Jody when you bet on him.
Yeah.
I always tried to look out for
Yeah.
them when I was on the track.
Yeah. Yeah. I can give you an example right now. I can give you an
let's see.
example right now. Wally's in Australia on his honeymoon, so I got the reins in St. John, which wasn't really that pretty. But anyway, I'm in the race with Jody, and I tucked in behind him because I knew that's the spot to be. And we're getting up the back stretch, heading towards the 3/4, and he's coaching me. Come on with him, he said. I'm thinking to myself, I shouldn't move yet. Come on with him. Out I come. Out I come. And that's as far as I got. Outside of him. So now we're getting down around the last turn, getting to the 7th, 8th. Are you done yet? Move over. Get out of my way. Yeah, so that was what he's like to drive against.
Yeah.
That's great. I got a few pictures to show you guys too. We'll get back to the stories. I just wanted to show you because I literally have I'm just gonna start throwing these up. They could be outdated. This one here is with your father racing Steady Spawn, I think the name of the horse is. I probably pronounced it wrong.
That's the horse that won.
That's
the
the
race,
horse.
yeah.
It's Jody Arsenault drove.
That was the first Wall Hennessey.
Yeah.
Yep.
The very first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Huey's there. Huey Campbell's there. Jody.
Do you see right in behind Wally there? I think that's Vic Ryan. I might be wrong.
No, that's Danny and Jimmy Campbell.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it?
Dan's got the
There's
long hair.
Francie's there, right beside.
Oh,
there.
yes. I see
Yeah,
her,
Francie's right there.
And Kenny Arsenault. See Kenny Arsenault's head there with the
Yeah.
Kenny and Joey drove the horse. Jody. That's that little thing. That's Thane Arsenault
Oh, in front of Joey there.
and Jody and Huey Campbell, and that's the Hickey boy. The Hickey.
Paul.
The younger fellow.
No, the youngest fellow, Jerry.
Jerry, okay.
I think that's
Jerry.
that's Gordon Bernard right behind. That's
Yeah,
Gordon
you just
Bernard.
see me. I look like Where's Waldo there in behind there. Like I remember I was telling the boys earlier.
I forget
one time
the
I
fellow
always
at the head
wanted to
there.
go to- What's
The
that?
fellow at the head. I don't know. I
Yes.
don't know.
No, that he used to groom for Joey Arsenault.
Yeah, look at the old judges stand right in the background,
Yeah.
guys. Still the same, huh?
Yes,
You know,
Yeah.
solid as a rock.
Yeah.
76. But anyway, that
Yeah.
was the Wall Hennessey there, and
Yep.
and Dad didn't drive that horse. He was just making the
Presentation.
presentation.
Okay. My bad.
The
Yeah, and
joke.
it's turned out to be a pretty big race now. It's every Thursday of Old Home Weekend. It's when the party starts on
Yeah.
Thursday.
It's the
Wall
biggest.
Hennessey.
It's the biggest thing that they have there at the bar. They sell out.
Yeah.
I went to my.
Jody's
Go ahead.
holding court usually. Yeah.
Jody wears a path out, going back and forth from the bar, getting drinks.
Yeah, I know.
Asking
They're
everybody
running
what
a
they
tab.
want to drink.
Yeah, buying for
Yeah,
people.
buying for people.
I went to my first Gold Cup in person this year with my friend, and oh my goodness, the amount of people. She wanted to watch it out front. I'm like, we were sitting in the little restaurant. I'm like, no, let's stay here. So let's go watch it out front. And I said to her, I'm not watching it out front again. That was very packed. And I guess someone said it wasn't even like it's crazy. I think Vic Ryan said it's a lot more busy than usual. Like usually it's more busy than it was. So we're gonna bring up a Gold Cup race here later. Let's bring up another picture.
We don't want to watch the
No, not that one. It's funny. We were going when I was talking because I was rooting for you, Wally, and what happened. And I said if he wins, I said we'll stop over and see him. When it happened, I'm like, no, we're not going to stop over and see him. I said let's just go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good scene.
From the memory.
Let's bring up another picture here. Bring up happier things. Here's Jody with who are you with in this picture?
I'm with Aaron's Mo.
And we have
Dan, he's at the head.
and he is at the head. Yeah.
With the coveralls on.
Yeah. And that's Lloyd McDonald, the older gentleman. He owned them.
Well, what track is that at there?
That's Charlottetown.
Charlottetown. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Charlottetown.
I have a fun one of Gordie here. Gordie's a bit younger in this picture. I'm going to bring it up here. And I'm going to show a little video of Gordie
Yes,
here.
that's my first lifetime win, that one. That's
And
what
what horse was that?
Best knock, and he raced till he was 14 years old in St. John. Wally had that from St. John. And that was my first lifetime win right there.
How did you reach them holders, Gordie? Look where the holders are.
I know. Well, Dad had them right up at the tail.
Oh, geez. They're up. They're up.
And I just let them go just there, before the picture.
It looked like he was horseback riding.
211 and 3, Bopper. 211 and 3.
Yes, I know. That was quite a thrill. You always remember.
Dad, look how happy Dad was there.
Yes,
oh,
yeah. I remember.
You know what he'd be saying to Gordie there? You see his mouth where it's open? My father there, our father there. He'd be saying, "Hang on to him now. Hang on."
Yeah, keep a hold of him in case he stumbles. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring up a little video of a video I found of you, Gordie. I got this from Jerry McCabe. I gotta remember to thank everybody when I'm done because I get so much material from people. But this is you look a little younger in this video, Gordie. So we're gonna bring it up. It's about 40 seconds long, and then we'll chat about it.
When you got your license and your first win for us. Okay. Well, the day that I turned 16, that's when I got my license. I knew that from when I was a young guy that I was going to be driving horses, and as soon as I turned 16, I went and wrote them right away, and I've been driving ever since. You know, every year, a few drives here and there. And my first win was a horse called Best Knock, and I'll still remember that one.
Did you win it going away or tough battle?
No, I just cut it out, like, you know what I mean? My father was never a man to race one off the front. He always liked to sit in a two-hole. That's what they called him, two-hole. So this night, the Best Knock could leave the gate a little bit, and I left, and my intentions were to sit in the two-hole that night, but I couldn't hold him, and he went right to the front and just kept going. And I lost my whip and everything.
Yeah, I remember that interview.
Yeah.
Yes. No,
that's something I thought.
I don't know how you remember your first one. He had the hold. Man.
I know.
I'll tell you, you should have been able to hold them.
Yes, and I had the whip.
Just even if you put your hands in the holders, you could have held them.
Yeah, I had to whip my mouth and everything there. Like, you know, when I just started driving, and I was trying to reach the holders, and I couldn't get them, and I had it in my mouth trying to move the holders, and geez, I lost the sword. So I went the whole mile, no sword, just hanging on for dear life. Because I only weighed about $110 then. I'm a little heavier now.
That's great.
The horse just like he was going loose.
That's awesome. I have a picture of you, Wally. You're a bit younger in this picture than you are now. I got this one.
Yeah, I don't know what. I think that's
that's darn good charger.
Yeah, darn good charger. Yeah, I have it written in there.
Darn good charger, and in the background, that's the old sheep barn. That was there, and look at the old trucks. That's how they used to truck them around. They used to put the box in the back of the half ton over the wheel wells, and that'd be like two horses would fit in the back there. But that was probably, oh Jesus. 56, 66. That'd be 70, early 70s, 70 or early 70s. Yeah. That was one of my favorite horses. He was a nice little horse. Summerside, what's his name? One of jewelry.
Gleason.
Yeah, Gleason.
He threw the dollars around like Jody threw them around. Yeah,
$1 for the boy for paddocking.
He used to look after him, and he used to say, "Here's $1, give it to the boy."
Yeah. I always wanted to jog that horse, and Dad would never let me jog him, because, like you say, he was scared the owners were coming around, and he'd never leave a horse in the day before a race. And I come after school, and it was spilling out, right? And he said, "Do you want to jog that fella? Get on him right now." And the rain was just bouncing. I had no rain gear or nothing. Sent me right out there, and I was smiling just like a Chesney cat jogging that horse. Right, because he was quite a horse back then. He raced the top class every week, like, you know, what we had on the grounds.
Yeah.
But that was Wally's horse. He
double dash. Used to go double, didn't it, Brody?
Double dash.
Yeah.
I took him to St. John and raced him a little in St. John.
Yeah, handy little fella, eh, Jody?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, could leave good, but you couldn't fire him up. He was kind of if you fired him up quick, he could be a handful. But if you kept him covered up, he'd get down the stretch good.
Yeah. Yeah, he was
I am bouncing all over the place. I have a picture of your father with Francis McIsaac too, which is I think a lot of people have seen this picture.
Yeah, that was Sackville Downs. That was. Yeah, in behind Phil's restaurant. That's where that picture was taken. At Phil Craig's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there when that was taken. I was only young then, but.
Yeah, well, your father looks very young. He looks like he's early 30s, maybe, in that picture.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah.
He had held his age good even when he was older. Like he never looked his age.
Let's
He's
see
like
what
me.
else.
Francis,
He's like me.
Yeah.
yeah, Jody holds it good. He does. You do, Jody, but
Yes, he does.
Francis
Does it all the time.
McIsaac, right? Gord?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Francis
Yeah.
McIsaac, wow. He was much younger than Dad, I believe. Jody, right? He was.
Yeah, he
like-
was. Yeah.
And but what a man!
Yeah, great fella.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he showed
He
up.
inspired a lot of us, Wally, like Francis did.
Yeah, he was a good man. He was a great man. He attracted a lot of people, and a lot of people wanted to just kind of hang with him, be around him, and well, you know what happened over there in St. John.
Oh, yeah.
Scotland. It was a very tragic accident. But you know, when you see that picture like that there, and you know how young my father looked, and seeing Francis there at that young age, you know, it brings back a lot of memories. That you know, two great guys.
You did a lot of work for Francis, didn't you, at first, Wally? When you first came to St. John, I think you raced a lot of his horses at first.
Not actually for Francis. It was for George Murphy from Dean Cove, but Francis drove all of his horses, and when he couldn't drive them, that's when I got a chance to drive them. And I did get a lot of chances because he had so many horses, he couldn't drive that many. But that's kind of how I got rolling a little bit. He was instrumental in me helping me get going. You know, he didn't take me under his wing or anything, but you know, if you watch them fellas like Jody and Gary McDonald, Earl Smith, Paul McDonald, you know, Francis Clarkey Smith. I mean, man, if you couldn't learn from him, my father, you know, if you watch these guys and, you know, paid a little bit of attention and, you know, you could absorb some of it from each guy, you know, that's the way you learn. I mean, you got to get out there and do it for sure, but that's how you learn. But you learn your different strategies and your tactics because everybody has a different style, even though we all look like we have close to the same styles. Some people can adapt quicker than others, and that's the way it was with the guys that were ahead of me. Like, you know, I knew which ones could, and Jody was very good at it. I mean, he could drive any type horse. You know, Gordie could come along. I think Gordie was a tremendous young driver. When he started out, I just don't know. He got moving around. He went to Fredericton. He was a top driver there. And then he went to Moncton. And he just kind of stalled out in Moncton. He stayed there because, you know, that's where his wife was, him and his wife hooked up. And he stayed there, and that's where he wanted to stay. Me, I wasn't satisfied with where I was. I don't mean where I was, but
just wanted to do bigger things. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know, but I wanted more than what I had. And at that time, you know, it was a lot that I had, but I thought if that's what it is, you know, I was very young and
ambitious.
This is what I wanted to do. And so if you reach the peak that early, there's only one way to go, and that's down. So I thought, and when Dan, like I mentioned earlier, when Dan chimed in with me and said, well, if you're going, he said, you know, we're heading there. I'm going with you. And that was a big deciding factor. My father-in-law was the major factor of me going because I was going to back out, and I went and had a chat with him, and he told me a little bit about life and what I should or, but he didn't say what I should or shouldn't do, but at that time he was running, he was the man in charge at Exhibition Park, GM and race secretary. And I was getting cold feet about leaving. And Doug, I went over to the Park Plaza. He owned a motel there, the Park Plaza Motel. Went over and had a nice long chat with him. And he was the man that really he didn't make me, but he that was the determining factor that I was deciding to go. I was not going. I was gonna stay where I was. And I guess the best words that he gave me, he says, you know, if you go and you fall flat in your face, you always got this to come back to. So give it a go.
Definitely. I'm going to go about with all you guys, and I'll start with Wally because it's already going. Certain jobs, because I know Wally, you worked on the boats for what, about half a day before you got into decided harness racing for a living. Is that how that went?
Yeah. Well, the reason that happened was, not to take too long, but my father was driving over on Prince Edward Island. Jody was driving, and they were the two top guys. Two of the top guys in Charlottetown. And then Danny was driving some. And I was about 19, 20 years old. And I said, and I wasn't doing worth a quarter. I couldn't catch a cold. So I said, you know what? Maybe I'm just not meant for this. Maybe I can't do it. And so my father, he knew a lot of people and got me a job on one of those, the big, the Tupper or whatever. I think it was the Tupper. But it was over in St. John on dry dock. So I had to start while it was over there. So that's how I ended up in St. John. That's
really?
fate. That's fate. I did. I didn't last 4 hours, 3 hours. And then I ended up in the backstretch at St. John. And that was
rest is history.
That was 45 or 47 years ago. Yeah. And here we are talking today. And that never would have happened if I didn't go over there in the dry dock.
Definitely. Now, Aubrey tells me that you walked through. I think Aubrey said he's seen you looking at the barns, and he said he's back. He was back at like 1 o'clock, ready to race. So
Aubrey Woods was the first man I ran into when I darkened the backstretch of Exhibition Park Raceway. The very first man that I happened upon was Aubrey Woods. And he was in the back last barn right by Dot's Lunch. And the reason why I just walked in the barn and Aubrey Woods at that time had horses for the man from Prince Edward Island who I worked for. My dad had horses for. His name was Ralph McFadgen. Yeah. And Aubrey had his harness bags. And I walked in and we, had a little chat with Aubrey. And then, so he was the first guy that I met when very first guy in St. John.
It's a very nice person. I love Aubrey. He's a great man.
Top shelf. Top shelf.
Aubrey's 87 going on 25. That's why I was joking with him because he wouldn't know he's that age when you hang out with him. So for you, Jody, did you just straight racing all the time? Did you do anything else besides racing?
It was pretty well racing for me. When I was a little younger, I had a couple of years at Canada Packers when it was on the go. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of just went back to race. Once I got my license and stuff, I basically went to the track. Sometimes I wasn't always there, but I was. That's where eventually I ended up. And harness racing was for me. And I just kept going. I couldn't go no longer. Mm-hmm. I'd taken a little bit of a heart trouble there when I got home and kind of backed me off a little of the driving end of it. But overall, harness racing was for me, and that was my move, and that's what I did.
And Danny, you said you did some construction, like you didn't build a Delta all by yourself. You had some help, right?
Well, I had a few people under me, yes. Yeah. But at any rate, I always tried to get away from the horses. My mother always said to all of us, don't do it. It's just so demanding on your life. It's a lifestyle on its own. I mean, but I always tried to get away from it. There's never any money. Not that I ever made any money, but there was no money in it. Like I said, I started $35 and jumped up to $80. Yeah. It was hard to make a living. I was bouncing here, bouncing there, but I always had the love for it. And, that's why, I always went back to it. I'd go get a job and I'd work there for a spell and right back to the track again. I'd go and then it worked out great for me. The horse business was very, very good to me. It was a great lifestyle for me. Suited me good. We were doing a lot of traveling, especially when we went to Florida. We'd be Florida in the wintertime and upstate New York in the summertime. And when you're upstate New York, if we were lucky enough to have a few sire stake horses, you're racing at all the tracks around there. And I did a lot of traveling. Really enjoyed it. It was a great night.
And you didn't get the -40 wind chill either, being in Florida in the winter, which is nice because
33 years.
Scott, enough just to jump in here for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Really, as a family, we're very fortunate that to be working. The four boys, we're working at something that we love to do, and we're very fortunate to had a great mentor like our father.
Yes, definitely.
To carry us and a beautiful mother.
Yes.
Yeah, she sure was.
She was the backbone. She was definitely the backbone of the whole family.
Yeah. So for you, Gordie, what did you've raced? I mean, as long as I remember, you were driving.
I had a stable earlier on, like Wally had mentioned. I raced in Fredericton and Moncton, and when I moved to Moncton, the track ended up being closed, which you guys know all about there in St. John right now.
Yeah.
And I had to look for some other source of income. So I started out, I drove a truck for a while, and I ended up getting a job working at Magnetic Hill Zoo. And I worked there for 12 years.
Okay.
And then at the last few years before I can move back to the island here, I worked for Jill Irvin with Hunter Jumper horses.
Okay.
Dressage horses, which she has top shelf horses. Like they go to Florida every winter. And so I got to work with some really nice horses there, and it was a good job. So when my wife retired, she worked at Fisheries and Oceans. We decided, I should say, that we're going to come to the island because we always had horses. Races, but we just did it as a hobby, me and her. And she supported me through all of that too. Always, buying horses and this and that. And there's no money in it. So anyways, we're still at it. We always keep a couple of horses. And her father was a good horseman too, Blair Bernard at Moncton.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. I've heard of the name Blair Bernard. Yeah, definitely.
He raced against Scotch Gom quite a bit.
He won the Alexander 77, I think, Blair Bernard. Did he not?
Yeah. And he had a couple other horses there, standing room only. He was a really nice horse. A lot of the guys in St. John will remember him. Yeah. Anyways, we're here now on the island, and I'm working alongside Jody there at the city.
Yeah.
And
nice.
He's not my boss, but anyways, I see him quite a bit. I think he was my boss.
He doesn't get to see me much because I'm always working.
Oh.
So I have an interesting little thing that's I was talking to Joey's wife about this. I talked to Joey Lynn about it. Sesame Street. Like, okay, so I have the pictures. Yeah, somehow Sesame Street ended up
right here of that right here. My brother John, he's right here. Pull in, John. You got that picture?
Yeah. Oh, do you have it? Let's see.
Wally's here, Clank.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hi. How you doing, Clank?
Good. How are you, Wall?
Good, buddy. Yeah, you were at Sesame Street?
Yeah, John was the star of that show.
So what's this? Okay, so I have some pictures. Let's kind of because the backstory to how I found out is I found it through Shelley and just and they were on Sesame Street. Like, it was just I'm like, whoa, wait, what? So I went through, looked through every episode I could figure out from Sesame Street until I couldn't look at Sesame Street ever again. I couldn't find the video. I have some pictures, but I don't have the video. So where does this come about? Like, how does this, can someone explain to me how this happens?
Get you up to date on that. I'm going to put him in here, Scott.
Okay, so yeah, bring him on.
That chair there, John, get the best.
How are you, John?
Hi there. Scott, is it?
Yeah, it's Scott, yeah. So what's the story behind Sesame Street? Like, how does that come about?
It came about. It was probably, I think, maybe 1982 or something.
Yeah.
And they were filming, and the theme of the part that they were going to put on Sesame Street was just a young girl who that was Jennifer. That would be my niece, Danny's daughter.
Yeah.
It was her around the racetrack, and part of the filming was we have double-decker buses, or we had double-decker English buses touring around town to take tours around in Charlottetown. It's a tourist area. And so part of the filming was that. So my son, Matthew, was involved in it too. He was one of the kids that was on the bus that drove around town. So they filmed some of that, but they also filmed at the racetrack. And at the racetrack, I think it was Jody that had Jennifer on the cart with them, and they showed a piece where they were driving around the track. Another part that they filmed was they filmed the horse out in Grand Trackety on a beach. And then Jennifer was on the back of the horse and walking along the beach. And my job was to basically lead the horse. I just had a lead chain in the horse and leading it along. And I was along to kind of, I guess, monitor the horse, make sure the horse didn't get away.
Go crazy.
Yeah,
Sam,
I think, was the horse. So
Silas
Yankee. Okay. So anyway, it was kind of interesting because it was on Sesame Street. And actually, I went looking for it the other night. I was doing the same as you were. I don't want to see Sesame Street ever again after going through all that.
No, I researched about a year of it, and I don't want.
Anyway, we had some pictures. I don't know if they sent them to you.
I'm gonna bring them up right now. I just didn't want to cut you off there, but I have some right here. So here's one. I think it's just on the beach.
That's my father. That's Dad, and so there would be my son. You can't really make them out.
Yeah,
my
I try
son, Morgan. My sister's son Daniel. I think Jennifer's in there.
Kara.
And Kara, who was another one.
And little Wally too.
Little Wally. So these would be all nephews and nieces of.
I have a few more too.
Grand Trackety. It don't look like that now. It's changed a lot with global warming and everything and tides. That's a better shot of it there.
Yeah, that's a better one there. Yeah.
And
So
I remember them setting all this up. Like if you've been involved in film and stuff. Takes a while. We were out there probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
So
I believe Jack Brown got that promotion started. He was GM at the
There we are getting on the bus. And that's Jennifer there in the red dress.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the lady is. I think she's with Sesame Street. And the other the guy drives the bus.
And we have another one. This is outside the barn, I think.
That's right. And that's Daniel's braces. That's my sister Bobby's son.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that's Dad leaning down. I know he's kissing somebody in the head there. And I think I had the horse.
Giving instructions.
I had the horse by the lead shank, and then you can see the filming. There's the guys filming.
Yeah.
Those barns that you see there, they're all gone now. It's all changed there and everything. And there's a puddle. You wouldn't have a puddle there now.
And the last picture is this
there's
one.
Jody. Look at him.
Yeah.
No helmet on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer sitting on his lap. And that, I mean, you're just seeing pictures. This was all filmed and it was on Sesame.
What will happen is I guarantee I'll find it probably tomorrow. That's when I'll probably find it after I shoot the podcast. Like, oh, there it is right in front of me. And it's funny, and I'll get off the topic. I won't take too much of her time. When you mentioned the fact that she was sitting on the horse, I think I've seen the picture. I was going through, like, they have an episode guide where you can look through and they have pictures of it. But after like an hour of looking at Sesame Street pictures, I'm like, I don't want to see this ever again. I looked for it. I couldn't find it. But I guarantee I'll find it because there was a guy on YouTube who, for some odd reason, has every episode of Sesame Street on there. I don't ever want to meet that person. That's a strange thing to be obsessed with. I'll take over harness racing obsession over Sesame Street obsession. But no, that was great because that's a really interesting situation.
Okay, I'll put Gordie back on.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for all the information. I'm going to bring up another video here. This is Jody and Wally in Provincial Cup. Oh, I want to think 6. Do you remember, Wally, when they did the voiceovers for you guys, or Jody, when you guys had to like record a little speech before, like saying, I'll just show it. I'll show it and we'll talk about it once it's over. It's coming up. It's about 47 seconds.
Stop it.
I'm Jody Hennessey. It's just super being in the Maritime's richest race. I've got a good horse and we're racing for a super owner, Soggy Reed. Glen Rounds was real sharp earlier in the season. We were winning the big ones back then. We're hoping for better things tonight. Thank you.
Hi racing fans, I'm Wally Hennessey. The best I've been in a cup race before was a second with Pen of Play to McGarrett in 2 minutes. That's a thrill I'll always remember. Romeo Boucher and Elaine Bergeron have worked hard with this horse, getting him back into tip-top shape. We won our last start, although most think we were in plenty tough. Don't count us out, especially if we're handy at the head of the lane. Thanks for your support and good luck to the other drivers.
I don't remember that, Scott.
No, that was
I remember the
80.
race, Wally, but I don't remember you just talking in the interview like that.
Yeah, it was 83, I think it was. 80. Steve Mahar gave me a bunch of tapes, and some of them were from 1983, and it blew my mind. See what else we got here. I got a picture of Glenn Reynolds, and then we're I love the stories. I'm just kind of I'm floating all over the place here. Where's Glenn Reynolds at? Chattahoochee, nope. Glenn Reynolds is up here. I just seen it. There we are. So Glenn Reynolds was a big horse for you, Jody, back then, eh?
Yeah, he was a real nice horse, that horse. That's, you can see there, I got a white helmet on. I forgot my helmet. I was in St. John. That was the time Diana and Charles were here.
Yeah.
And I borrowed somebody's helmet.
Now, I know you're not a big fan of that race, Jody, because I talked to Shelley and she said you didn't think you drove that well. I thought you did very well in that race.
I give him the scenic route. Anyway, one thing about that horse, he overcome it. I think he ended up maybe fourth. That horse there was a real nice horse, and that head got sick later in his career, and I had to stop with him. But he was a real competitor, that horse, when he was on his game. And that day that we raced, that day, if I'd have just given him a little bit of cover, he might have got a little more. I hit him all over the track. But anyway, he's a real nice. Soggy Reed owned him, and he owned at the Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, he was a great horse.
What's the story behind? Because when I find this, and I'm going to give thanks to Mike Ellsworth because that's another person that helps a lot. I just go on his site and I'm looking. I was looking for Burner's Delight. That's what I was looking for, but I found the 1983 Royal Pace, and I clicked on it. It said Glenn Reynolds, Jody Hennessey. I'm like, well, hello. So what's the story behind this? Like the Princess Diana and Prince Charles are in Charlottetown at this point?
Yes, they were in Charlottetown. They were coming here, and they were going. One of their stops was going to be at the Charlottetown Driving Park. Mm-hmm. And of course, the hype that would be around that with Charles and Diana being there. So anyway, no, it was a big thing. I was chipping over from St. John, and God, the amount of people there was unbelievable. The barnyard was full. And they started at 6 o'clock because Charles and Diana had other commitments. Mm-hmm. So anyway, no, it was a big race for everybody, and it went over well.
Well, let's. I'm going to drop it in here. So it's 20 seconds. I said the last quarter there, or the last couple seconds. So I'll bring it up real quick.
Selster up on the outside, Glenn Reynolds. Here comes Bayside Catfish off the turn for home. It's Winner's Accolade with the lead. Colombo Selster, Bayside Catfish, wave up on the outside, Glenn Reynolds. Five of them right across the track. It's going to be Winner's Accolade. Colombo Selster. It'll be close for.
Will not say where I finished.
Third. You finished third.
Tough race. That was a tough race.
It was I gave him the overland. He's seen a lot of track that night.
I think he did well. I watched it. I'd never seen that race before. I was pretty impressed.
Overdrove him big time, but I made up for it a few nights after that.
Let's find what we got here. I'm going to try to find. I don't want to. Here's a picture of you guys. I think when you're younger.
Yeah, that's me in the yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's Gordie.
Yeah, that's me on the other side of Dad.
Dad.
I think he got some kind of an award there. I'm not sure when that was, but I think he got Dad had received some kind of an award, and we were all home that time for it. And we had a party down home at our place.
Heard to recognize me. I'm so small, eh?
Yeah.
Your teeth.
Yeah.
I have actually that full picture of Shelley sent me that. I apologize. I got so many pictures sent to me, so some that won't come up. To anyone that sent it to me, I apologize. It's just that once you get rolling, you're like, oh, I forgot this, and I forgot that. I have a format, but I'm not really following too well.
Well, it's hard to keep on top of all of us, eh?
Oh, I think we're having I love it. It's a great time. What's I going to show?
Scott, not to get off topic too far.
Yeah,
we also have 4 sisters that they took care of us. Brenda, Linda, Bobby.
Yeah.
Was her nickname.
Yeah.
Laurie and Francie. And they were our biggest fans, biggest supporters, and took care of us.
Yeah, we were at the track, but they had to do all the cooking.
They better not be talking about us if they were around.
Don't say a bad word about us.
Yeah.
I have pictures of them too at the end too. I'm going to acknowledge everybody for sure. I wanted to see where I add here. I want to show this picture. This is a picture of the Aubrey Wood game. I put this on Wally's podcast, and you've seen this too, Jody. I don't know if you've seen it, Gordie, or not. This is Wally's.
Yeah, I've seen that one before. Yeah, that's when Wally got his 1,000th win, I think.
Yeah. So we have a lot of the guys in there.
Down at the Park Plaza.
Looks like you guys are having a pretty good time in that picture.
Cool. There's a lot of good horsemen in that picture, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Zill's on the corner. We have Marcel, Jody are there. Wally's there. Are you there, Gordie? You're there somewhere, right?
Yeah, I'm there right in the yellow, right with the hand with the beer. See me?
Okay. Yeah, I see you there. I see you there.
And Wally's up front. John Davidson there.
Yeah.
A little mustache. Bloody
We
Mary.
have
Chicky.
Yeah.
Daryl Pierce is there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony Watson. Ted Scoville in the back beside me there.
Yeah.
Sean Dooley.
Yeah. Randy Phillips in there.
Randy's over there. I don't know who's beside Randy with the glasses. I can't really see who that is.
Ronnie Matheson.
Yeah.
And that's the Barrio, not Jill.
Rael.
Randy Phillips, Orville Willis, Gordie Ford, Leroy Vincent, Wayne, that fellow's name, Wayne. Was it Wayne Watson or is it that?
Yeah.
That
that's Tony over there beside Leroy.
Tony was. Yeah. That's who it is. That's them all. I don't know who in the glasses back there. Is that
I don't
Bobby?
know who that is either. And I don't know. He photobombed us. I don't know who that is.
It might be Bobby.
It is Bobby.
Yeah.
It is. She's the only girl in there. It is Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Bobby.
That's my sister.
We're having a few alcoholic beverages.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. I've heard of stories of these parties back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, yeah, that hideaway there, there'd be a line of them that we'd be able to scoot right in.
Yeah,
we used to hang around there quite a bit on Saturday night.
I can even imagine. I've heard of stories. My grandfather used to have parties I heard back in the 70s at his house. I don't know if it's true. A car went missing once at one of them parties, but, it wouldn't put it past you guys back then. Like, I had fun in my 20s. I used to have an apartment in the north, and I remember me and my buddy, we'd always have gatherings and stuff in their 20s. The people down the road complained. They're like, can you please turn the music down at 7 in the morning? I was like, yeah, we will. I'm going to bring up an interesting video. And I don't know if you've seen this. Anyone seen this? Have you guys ever seen the turtle? First off, Jody and Wally, do you remember the turtle race in McAllister Place?
Yeah. The rings?
No, the turtle race. I seen the video of it. I wasn't there then.
I think I participated in one of those.
Oh, you did? I'm gonna show it. I clip it. I don't show the whole thing because it's like 10 minutes long. And so I'm gonna throw it up real quick. It's about a minute long, and we'll talk about it when it's done.
Who you are and how you feel this race will be like today. Yeah, I'm Wally Hennessey, and I want the fastest turtle here because I don't like being beat. And I have a little side bet here with a couple of fellas there. This is going to be a really big race. Yeah, a couple of colors on the line here today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard from Wally Hennessey. He does not intend to lose this turtle race. He's very proud of this moment. He's a bit nervous, I think, perhaps for the first time in racing history in his lifetime. Wally, his fingers flexing them, he's getting ready to hold the reins in this turtle. And do you have anything to say? I think your turtle, if I remember, has come from the States up to Alberta and has raced in New Brunswick before, and is the son of Warlord, the great downhill turtle racer who has never lost a race. However, he's been retired about 2 years ago. This is the son, I think, of Warlord. I'm Jody Hennessey, and I don't think it's defeat today either. I've beat him before, I can beat him again. Okay, so these jockeys are up for it. They're ready for it. They even got up early for it. And that's something. Okay, fellas, I think that will do.
The other side, here we go. 18 coming close again. He turned on the side. There they come. They're slowing down. It's a little slow. Turtles are known for being slow on this.
Of someone, I think it's some Har videos I came across that was like, what the hell is this? And so I'm thinking Doug Caldwell probably got that put together, almost like promotion. I know it was for Red Cross, but it was. Do you guys have any memories of that? And either one of you? I know Wally, you say don't remember it much. Do you remember it at all, Jody, when that happened?
Yeah, I kind of remember it a little bit. Not big. I remember when I look at it. I remember being there. Yeah. Doug did set it up, by the way.
Yeah.
He had come and asked us if we would go over. I think it was more of a promotion thing for the track, and we're quite willing to do it. So,
Not to sound like oh, sorry, Wally, I cut you off there. You gonna say something?
No.
Okay.
I just if you look there, I don't remember it at all. I don't remember none of it. But you see Marcel there, Barrio was there, and
Steve Mahar's there.
Me and Jody. Well, that just kind of shows you what kind of talent we had back in them days. And we were just a portion. We were just four. We were just a portion of who was there in them days. And in the early days of not the early days of Exhibition Park, but the 70s, 80s.
Yep.
And I wasn't there in the 90s, 70s, and 80s. But we had us four. But I don't remember the turtle race. Even when I watch it, I can't recall nothing.
I'll tell you, like,
I heard that I wanted to win, and that didn't surprise me any, because I got to win shooting marbles or pitching pennies.
Yeah. Very competitive.
I know.
Yeah.
We talk about you guys back then, and I'll admit to it, because at the time I'm probably like 5 or 6 years old. I said it before. I mean, my father drove. Everyone knows that. You guys, like, I'm going to be honest, were like celebrities to me. I mean, it was like, the names, like, I would be there every Saturday, and people loved their hockey players. I was all about the harness racing, and my dad was number one. Marcel was 2, and then Wally and all you guys were like 3, 4 and stuff. I had to pick my dad at 1 because I used to sit there at that fence and wait for him to win a race, and I didn't get to see him in the late 70s when he really had a good run. But no, for me, I mean, I get why they would bring you guys over there, because you were all well known, like you were athletes in the city, right? So it brings promotion to it. It was for Red Cross. That's what it was for. I'm gonna jump into something else here. Let's see here. I'm gonna show a few more pictures and just keep telling stories, guys. Like, don't feel bad about cutting in. I don't mind. Here's a picture of you guys back in I think the 70s or 80s. Did it come up for you guys?
Yeah, that'd be early 80s. Yeah, that's early 80s.
Okay. If it goes away, let me know. I'll bring it back up, because I'm lagging a bit on my end here. Let me just bring it back.
Yeah, that's not a leather coat, Gordie, got on.
No, it's plastic.
There we go.
Yeah, that's plastic.
His nephew Dan.
Yeah,
he
I
does.
sure do.
Tony.
You got hey, did you see you're in the background there, Clank?
Hey, Wally.
That's my
Jody's asking me about the picture.
I said to Danny, does it look like Daniel? I was asking Danny.
No, I know. No. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice picture back there.
Yeah, it
I think
is.
my mic is muted.
The old judge is standing back there again.
Yeah, it's in all the pictures.
In the fur collar, I got the fur collar on there, so it must
Yeah, so it must have been in the fall of the year for something.
Yeah.
And we have this one here.
We're all about the same height. Yeah. Wally and I put them away that day. We ever teased them after.
No, that was a great competition. Another thing Doug put on there. Doug and Ingham Palmer. Doug Caldwell, Ingham Palmer. They were a great team together. Doug had hired Ingham there because Ingham was a great promoter. He was with what is it, Scott?
CFPC?
Yes, yeah. And Ingham would promote harness racing big time on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody used to tune in for Ingham. But in that competition there, that was like teaming up Hennessey's, Barrio,
and Nicholson's.
Bill and Bill Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and Stephen, Buddy, Mahar, and Marcel and Jills and Jody and I.
Yeah.
And we got the hardware that day, but I mean, anybody could have got the hardware, I guess.
We had a lot of fun with it anyway.
I'm sure Jody was letting me in and out that day. All day.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Giving
good
you
at
holes.
that. I wasn't bad at doing that.
Yeah. Take the wheels right off you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Keep
going.
There was a lot of good promotions back then.
Yeah.
And, Scott, you had said that, we were kind of celebrities to you, like back then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you weren't the only one, Scott. Like harness racing was, a big thing, a going thing there, not just in St. John, but all across Atlantic Canada back then. A lot of people were involved in it, and even the people that weren't involved in it wanted to be involved in it. And there was a lot of great promotions back then by, all the people, Doug, and people on the island. I think Duck Acorn and all of them back there then, and Jack Truckshanks in
Sackville, I think it is.
And Fredericton Raceway, Brian Hamilton, and Brian and the was a young kid. He was with Brian. He's Brent Briggs.
Yeah, Brent. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sydney, you couldn't get a better place to go if you went a million miles. Sydney was. They treated you right to the nines. You went down there. They made sure you had a place to stay. There was a room for you.
Awesome.
And the odd time there was a dozen beer there, right? So,
Truro Raceway.
Everybody treated you great in them days when you trucked in anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, the top class, it followed around.
Awesome time to be in the harness racing business. It still is today. I mean, us fellas, this family you're in, you got on here today. This has been our life. Fortunately and unfortunately. Fortunately, because we love what we did. Unfortunately, it takes everything it takes your whole life. If you're gonna be a part of this, you have to be all in, and it's a tough grind. Especially if you have.
Oh, keep going. Sorry, Wally.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
So I was going to show a picture of you. We saw this on your last podcast, but we'll show it because it's a real nice picture of you and I think Don Galbraith coming up.
Yeah.
And that's in Woodstock, I said?
Yeah, that's in Woodstock. Donnie Galbraith. I guess I'd be about, I don't know, there maybe around mid-20s, a little below, a little above. And Donnie Galbraith, he was from St. John and great horseman. Never operated a huge stable, but very efficient stable. And he had given me the opportunity, which was great at that time, to drive all of his horses. And they were good horses back then. Jody can attest to that. Like when Donnie put them on the track, he wasn't putting them out there to finish second or third. He was putting them out there to win. And that was one of the reasons back then that I was able to have some success driving for people like him. John Davies.
Yeah, I was going to mention him next. Yeah.
John Davies gave Jody and I both a lot of support. I had a lot of support out of the Moncton area. I had a lot of the owners that had great horses in the Moncton area. Bertan Cormier and Omar Casey, Ron Gauguin, a lot of them. I can't remember all of them back then, but they were great supporters of Edmund Gagnon. Like they owned Brunswick Downs, the New Brunswick Downs, when it opened.
Yeah.
And I had them as clients back then. And it was just a great time in harness racing. It was a joy to be a part of it.
So for you, Jody, I was talking to Shelley. You drove a lot of horses for Big John Davies. Was it Christopher C. Down? Now, Christopher C. Down, I'm trying to think. I know the name from actually doing the EPR Jeopardy because I had a couple of questions. That was one hell of a horse. Was that in the early 90s, Jody, that you had Christopher C. Down?
I had Christopher C. Down but that Milton Downey owned it, that horse.
Okay.
That's who owned it, him. Anyway, I was fortunate enough to get to drive him. He was a real nice maritime bredder. He's a homebred of Milton's, actually. Anyway, he finished second 2 years in a row in the Gold Cup. And he was second there to the Little Black Magic there when she set a Canadian record. He was, for a maritime bred horse, he was a real super horse, and I was fortunate enough to get to drive him.
I actually have, coming up, where is it at? I thought I had it. I did have it, but I don't have it. I had that video of that, but I'm going to show what we're going to do next. I'm actually going to bring up a full, because for each of you guys, for Wally, I actually have two videos for you. For Gordie, I have a video of yours, and it's 96, but I want to bring it up. So this is the way this one's going to work. You guys can talk over it, okay? Possibly. If everything works out properly and it comes up and we get the screens working properly, you can talk over it amongst each other and go crazy. It might not work. If it doesn't work, I'm going to have to edit it out. But if it doesn't work, I have a different way to show it. But I'm going to bring it up now. Just give me a second. And this is from you from 1996, Gordie. This is Chatham Hoochie and the Dairy Queen for Tilde. I think I can't pronounce it, but you know what I'm talking. You'll know when you see it. Let me find it. And oh no, I got you in the actual desktop. There we are.
Hey, Jody.
Yes.
When Gord got to the smoker, he wasn't too kind.
No. He's always telling people about all times I was asked him to let him in and let him out.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what. He'd have parked a whole bunch of us if he could have.
Wouldn't let Dad go or
Wouldn't let
Mom.
nobody go. And then tell you after he couldn't hold him, eh?
Yeah. Was that you? Was that you coming? I didn't know that was you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna cut guys off. Keep going. I pause it so you guys can talk. Go ahead. So there you go.
No, we're very competitive on the track. The three of us were.
So we're gonna see if this works. I'm bringing the sound down a bit because honestly, talk amongst it. Like because I think it's cool if you guys like are watching it because you have these little ideas and just talk amongst yourselves while the race is going.
When Gordie, when he'd make the front end, me as a student of the game, and I'm sure everybody raced against him. The moment he crossed over, we were just stacked like.
Yeah, I'd have the air brakes on.
He'd have two head poles on.
Yeah.
And then wonder why you were coming at him so early because we were going like a quarter or an eighth in about 13 or 14 seconds, and then the next eighth
right up
20. Yeah,
I jammed right up. Yeah, I had them all stacked up in behind.
The good horse you had, Gordie. I never raced against him much, but I watched a lot of the races. Chatham
Chatham this is the father of this guy here.
I have a race.
Yeah.
Keep going. I had a race of you two going wide, like right at the end. I come where I put it at, and it's funny because you're winning, Wally, and you're kind of just like sitting back, like, oh yeah, everything's good, and all of a sudden Gordie comes flying up. And I think around the last second, you was, oh shit, there's Gordie, and I better speed up a little bit. So here's this race here. No, he didn't get you. He didn't get you. He came close, but you got him in the end. But you were sitting back. You were sitting back enjoying the ride, and then I think you realized at the last second Gordie was coming up. He was coming up quick. I'm going to bring this up now, and again, talk through it. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Everyone's seen this race anyway.
No, we had some good times driving together, all of us.
Me, we did. Yeah.
And Danny. We had some great times. But, it was never a pre-game strategy. I mean, when we went out onto the track.
Every man for himself.
Yeah.
Every man for himself. And nobody, whatever happens.
I think if I added them up, though, I think I gave Jody a whole lot more holes than he ever gave me. But
yeah, me too. Well, every time I was inside of him, he'd come out and when I'd opposite way, he'd be telling me don't be leaving out church.
Well, you got to respect your elders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, this race that's going here, this is one of the nicest horses that I ever drove. His name is Chatham Hoochie.
I wasn't there then, Gordie, was I? I wasn't inside.
No, but he was
October '96. Yeah.
I was just hoping for a top going into this final. And Jill had a colt in here that was the best colt. He had won about 8 in a row. And I was just hoping for a second. And
is that in there, Scott?
It's cutting it out. That's just me. Don't worry about it.
That's all right.
We'll
That's
just
all right.
Yeah.
Earl Smith on the front.
Yeah.
Here comes Jill. Here comes Jill.
Yeah, he had one of the top colts. And then Steve Maher's in this race. He's got a little horse I drove all along too. His name was Woodmere Topcat. I had two in the same race. Stevie drove this fella. And he ended up driving him after that because I had Hoochie. But I ended up getting a really nice trip. But at the time, like I said, I was hoping for a 4 or 5. This colt was just coming into his own and ended up racing him at 14 years old. Super colt.
This is a big race.
Jill's on the front, and he's sitting pretty there. He thinks he's got it all on. Steve's going 3 wide.
Stevie just got greased there.
Earl saddle clothed him.
Yeah, well, he wasn't bad at that work either.
Yeah. So right here, I'm third over. You can see me on the outside. with this horse. And at this point, I said, I'm getting a 5. That's what I was, I said, I want to get a check. They're going for 50 grand then, which is a big purse in those days. Stevie's getting away on me, and I swung this fella out, and I said, geez, I'm going to get a deuce. Right now, was going to be real happy with a 2 in here. I drove Top Cat, and I know he doesn't give it up. Anyways, we come around the last turn, and I'm getting closer to Stevie, and I said, I got a shot here when I return for home. And as you can see here, I'm going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at my fella. You don't have a line under him. I'm right out there and right out, not a rain on. And I just get him right in the last spin.
Good job we didn't put in a stumble there.
No, they would have never found me. That was a long photo that day, and I remember us waiting for to see who won it.
Well, yeah, because I edited it. I edited it out. It's the part where you would know you won right here.
Yes, and we're just waiting, and it was quite a thing. That paid for me and Alain Bergeron. That's a trainer right there. That paid for our trip before that.
Well, we're gonna keep running because do you see the triactor on this race? How big it is? The triactor's insane.
That horse never won a bad race in his life. Not one.
But everything. Nothing confirmed until the photos out. I'm so excited.
You see the excitement on Gordie there, Scott.
Oh yeah.
If you're watching this today, and you wonder why somebody wants, why you get addicted to this sport, or all you got to do is watch the jubilation of everybody in that picture there. And as much as Gordie's showing a little more excitement than all the rest, every one of them was feeling the same way. From the owner to the grooms, family members.
Oh yeah.
It's a feeling that look at this, his arms up again. Geez.
You think you win the little brown jug?
Well, that was your little brown jug. Right?
That was that for the Maritimes. That was a big race. That was
big race, big money.
Oh yeah.
Sponsored a lot of big races.
People and I noticed, on the turn there when the race was going. Yeah, look at that. 3-night. Daily double, 55.
Oh, look at the tractor! It's coming up.
Yeah.
This tractor was $7,200.
$7,200.
That's wild.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
That's
$200.
That's the kind of money they were betting back then too. Right?
Yeah, the live bet was right at the track too. I think I hold the record there for the biggest win ticket. It was with a mare named Nancibel. The only one that had the ticket was Pebbles Russell. She paid $225 to win or something. Wally pretty near run over the top of me at the wire. He had a little buffet. I still remember that race. I was away ahead by about 10 lengths. I said, the only way I'm going to win here if I get away on the backstretch. And she took off anyways. But she was walking at the tote board, just walking. And they're all coming, teaming behind me. And I know they're going to. And Wally's coming with a little buffet, pretty near rating the bike with me. And anyway, she ended up winning by a nose, but she had won like $225 or something. And Pebbles running around with the ticket, the only ticket that was won.
Yeah,
but he'll probably tell you that story. Pebbles, Russell.
Oh yeah, I know Pebbles. I know Pebbles. I see him up at Sobeys.
A lot of $2 bets. He used to bet the longest shot in every race, right? That was his thing.
Smart man.
I watched the races today, home there, in Atlantic Canada, and a tremendous amount of talent there too. A lot of the horses are much better today, but the guys that driving them now, tremendous talents. But when you're going through these pictures and the videos, just look at the people that went through Exhibition Park. I just noticed in that last race there. Well, you had Gilles, who's still going. He's probably, if not the greatest that ever raced in Atlantic Canada, one of. Phil Pinckney was in there, Steve Mahar, Earl Smith, you had Jody, you had Gordie, you had Wally, you had Marcel Barrio, you had Francis Isaac, you had
Callie Rankin.
Callie Rankin.
Gary McDonald. Don't forget about Gary.
And the old Wiz. Don't forget the old Wiz.
Yeah. Well, how could I forget Gary? I mean, Gary was from my money. There's nobody could drive a horse one time, maybe. For a long time. Gary McDonald drove more poor horses than any human being. The only one I know that drove worse horses than him was that young Chappell.
Gary Chappell, yeah.
Yeah. But Gary McDonald drove so many bad horses and got success with them. But Gary Chappell, all them Chappels, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great horse people
and good people too. The Chapels.
Very best.
Yeah.
They were I don't know who we're missing out here, Jody, but
remember the old wizard,
the Wizard of the Turf.
And we can't forget Boydie Tremere, the old conductor.
Yeah,
Boydie
we had a lot of the island of France. Oh, what about all the guys from Cornwall, like the McPhee brothers and the Blois McPhee?
Wally, one of the big accomplishments that I think that
Ronnie Gass. What about Ronnie Gass, Jody? Excuse me. How do you leave Ronnie Gass at any?
Oh, you don't. You can't.
No.
I mean,
he brought a lot of horses.
Bred his own, raced his own, drove his own.
Yeah. Just getting back to what I was saying there. A man that really deserves a lot of credit and win over 1,000 races with his own. He bought and raced them was Boyd McDonald. McDonald, unbelievable man for the race game. But you take a man like Boyd McDonald to win 1,000 races.
That's right.
That's his own barn. Rated of his own barn. He bought and raced them.
Yeah.
You had to have some talent back then if you were going to win 1,000
You're
races.
damn right. I'll tell you what, Boyd McDonald, a good horseman and good for the race game.
Yeah, we had a lot of great drivers, great talents, and a lot of them never even got the opportunities that people were not mentioning. I hate to leave anybody out.
Yeah, Brian Moore's another one, Wally. He won a lot of races there after you left. Like he kind of took over, like him and Jody, right?
I thought Charlie Price took over.
No, thought he could drive. He'd like to send them off the gate too. He'd put a wheel under you.
Yeah,
Charlie.
Yeah, he liked to send them, Charlie, no matter what.
Didn't he have the phone on the side of his bike? Everybody was running into him. He called the judges.
Jody told him to get out of that. Don't be calling.
Yeah, hit a shoot phone.
Dan, you got to chime in here a little something there. I know, like Dan watched more races than all of us,
And without fellas like Danny, just looking after and done the thing.
Now, Jody, but Dan watched a pile of races, and Dan's seen a pile of talent in his life.
Yes, he has.
From when we grew up. So,
Scott, I don't mind because they're the flash and I'm the pan.
That's
right. They're the ones out front, but there's two sides to that coin being out front too.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about talent, we're just talking to a fellow that you're just talking to, Wally there. Look what he is in the world today. He's 10th to 12th win this driver.
And we're so proud of him too.
Oh, yes.
So when you're talking the greatest, he's not far from you.
That's right.
Still digging, Jody. Still digging.
Yeah, and still going.
Yeah. No, I don't like that's very nice of you to say, but look at the longevity I had. That's luck. The longevity, health wise and physical wise and mental wise.
The talent.
Oh yeah, for sure. You gotta have the talent.
You gotta get the opportunity.
But Scott getting back here a little bit. They're the guys you see, but there's a lot more to the business than just
definitely, for sure.
Yeah,
just a guy in the track. It takes a whole team to get there.
Yeah,
there's not just one person. There's no I in the horse racing business.
No.
It's a we.
Yeah,
definitely. Trainers, groomers, owners.
Yeah,
for sure. I agree 100% because I was around it as a kid and I seen I used to muck stall stuff when I was little. I loved it. It was funny. I used to get teased a little bit, like people watching hockey. Like, no, I'm gonna have my dad to go muck stalls at the track. Like, what? I was born into it. It was funny. John Davison teased me one day. I was down at the Barns and I was trying to move around a horse. I said, "What the hell's wrong with you? You're raised in this business. You know how to move around a horse."
Yeah.
I got another video, a fun one. This is Jody and Wally. This is Wally's actually his last race ever at EPR. This is Rothman Stakes 1986. And I think every other horse is part of the blue chip in this race. And I watched it, but I actually originally, when we did your original podcast, I had this but couldn't find it. But let's bring it up a little post call. We'll do the last 20 seconds of the race, and then I'll bring everybody back in. And let's see how long it is. Oh, it's actually a minute and 49. So we'll throw it up if anyone wants to get a drink or something. We can do whatever. We can stop if need be because we're not going live. We're just recording. So here it comes right here.
The ladies and gentlemen, Exhibition Park, pleased to present in cooperation with Rothmans of Pall Mall and the Maritime Breeders Association, the richest stake race in the Maritimes this year, second richest of all time. This is the Rothman Sire Stakes for 2-year-old pacing colts, the purse $42,500. We parade first, number 1, Dalton Cap, a son of Easy Come, Easy Go out of Skyline, Hanover, she by Kimberly Kidd. The colt was bred by Brenda and Ken Berry of Alexander, Maine, owned by Ken Layden of Fredericton, trained and driven by Wally Hennessey. Number 1, Dalton Cap. And again, Mr. Hennessey, good luck at Pompano Park. Next in line comes number 6, Charlotte's Night, another son of Knightly Blue Chip from the mare Jan LaBelle, she by Overtrick. This colt was bred by Alfred Motor at the Charlotte Ranch in Sussex, owned by David and Darrell Tingley of Halifax. Charlotte's Night is trained by Marcel Barriot. Jody Hennessey is catch driving this afternoon. Number 6, Charlotte's Night. 2-1 by the 3/4 round the top turn. Utah Smoky a length. Overnight Storm and Dalton Cap are neck and neck, and PH Bobby swings wide 4th. Pineway Cadet racing 5th. They swing 4 home. Utah Smoky. Overnight Storm coming up on the outside. Dalton Cap going to the inside. Utah Smoky, and they're coming on. Dalton Cap coming through at the line. It's tight. Utah Smoky, Dalton Cap, Overnight Storm, and Pineway Cadet. Then PH Bobby, PH Steve, Cap Young, and Charlotte's Night. Time for the mile, 2:02 and 4.
No.
Actually, that's my mother's horse. That's my mother owned that horse. My father drove Jan
LaBelle, yeah.
Yeah, Jan LaBelle. Sorry, Jan LaBelle.
Yeah, she was the dam of that colt. Yeah, Jody.
Yeah. That colt lasted a long, the Jan LaBelle, sorry, was on. I have a picture of Jan LaBelle. Someone posted on the page from like the late 90s on a farm. I gave it to my mother for Christmas. I had it on a little flash drive. Yeah, go ahead, Gordie.
No, that's a nice story when you can see that they find a home after. Like that's and they're doing a lot more now. The Standardbred Retirement Association, they're doing a lot more for the Standardbreds too, which is great.
And it's really good.
Locations for horses, and these Standardbred horses, they can go anywhere. They're actually really nice to work with, and they had a bad rap for a long time. They always thought they were too hyper or whatever, but these horses are great.
Oh yeah.
And you guys had a day up there too that was great.
Yep.
There, you did that, and that's a great promotion.
That horse was the sweetest horse I ever seen in my life that they had up there that day. It was like they had him in a little spot right below the sulky room, and this horse was the calmest horse you'd ever seen in your life. Like kids were feeding it. And there was certain kids that you could tell were like, oh, I don't know, but this horse was the sweetest thing in the world. Yeah. Very nice. It was a very good story that they got him.
I'm got that horse back, and
yeah,
nice that you done that.
I wonder if that's the same horse they did the documentary on ATV. I know CTV did.
No, that was Sesame Street. That was a horse from Halifax.
That was a very nice documentary when they were up to Charlottetown driving. I'm going to show a picture here of Jody and a few other people. This is when they got rid of that death trap they called the hub rail. You guys got rid of
it. Yeah, that's when I was in my best, when I had a shovel.
Yeah. Leaning on it. Yeah. There was a guy in the city with me one time, and he called dispatch. He says, geez, I broke my shovel, eh? And the fella told him, lean on the truck.
Yeah. But they got rid of that guardrail finally. That thing was
that was. I think that was the best thing that harness racing ever done. That's one good thing to get rid of that.
For safety.
For safety, sure. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Like, I mean, we won't go into with the Francis story. We won't get into that. But I mean, I've seen accidents. I was watching a race with Joe O'Brien from the Meadowlands. Like, it was on YouTube, and his horse goes over the guardrail, and oh my goodness, it looked brutal. Like that's just.
We couldn't go anywhere. Wally had a few bad spills, but we've been fortunate. I remember one night in St. John, Wally probably remembers this. Every horse in the race went down except for one, and it was Phil Sowers. His horse made a break behind the gate, and he was so far back. Like we were coming in at the 7/8, and Debbie Jodask was on the front, and she jumped over a number, right? And the whole field went down, right? And we're scattered everywhere. Wally had 3 bikes in the race, brand new Nassau's.
Oh, yeah, I heard the story.
Enough left for an inquest. And anyways, after Wally says, "You all right?" I was holding my horse down. I was on his head and I was holding him down. Wally run over to me, "You all right?" And I said, "Yeah, geez, I'm all right, but I can't find my glasses." Anyways, I had them on. The frames were all bent to hell. Both lenses come right out of the glasses. All I had was the frames.
What? Yeah, I've heard that story. Did I hear that from? I don't know who told that story. I've heard that story about you before. I'm not just saying that. Yeah,
I told you, Scott. I told you that story.
you told the story. Well, okay, yeah, you told the story. I don't.
Reminiscing there, but he forgot to mention whose number was on the track.
It was mine, but I wasn't the groom. So I wasn't the groom. It's the groom's, make sure that number's on.
Scott, go back there. I've been trying to think here because when I go back, because I don't want to leave people out.
Oh, yeah. No,
Paul McKenzie from Atlantic Canada. Look what he's done in his career. The Polton family.
Yeah.
And then I just seen there in that last segment there, Soupy Camel. Look at his sons there, Drew and Heath.
Oh, yeah, they've done well.
The Pinkney brothers. The Poltons, like I said, Harry Polton ended up with two of the greatest horses, pacers that ever lived. Brent McGrath he's beside me down here this year at Sunshine Meadows. He had some beach somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Now he's got the beach glass. He's probably the best horse. He'll probably be the best horse in the country this year. That beach glass. We've got talent in Atlantic Canada. That's like.
Yes, and a lot of them stay here, Wally, and they never go anywhere. And they could race with anybody. All these young folks that are driving here right now. We got a great driver colony, and they're all good kids, every one of them. That's why I put them on. I'm all done there. Jeez, I'm too old to be out there.
Didn't you race there?
Oh, good,
Didn't you race during Old Home Week, Gordie? I thought I seen you out there.
I race once in a while.
Yeah.
Very often now.
Yeah.
Like I say, we got too many nice young drivers here, and they get along with the horses really well. They could go anywhere. Mark Campbell and Corey McPherson and Adam Murner.
Jill's.
Well, Jill's. We don't have to talk about Jill.
Well, Jill's. Listen, you don't even gotta. Jill's is Jill's. I mean,
he's in a league of his own in the Maritimes. Really, there's Jill's and then Mark's. Mark's pretty close.
I know, but Jill's been doing it. Mark is tremendous stuff. But Jill's been doing this for 40 years, boys. He's been on top.
Exactly. You look at some of the old pictures there.
And Mark Campbell, winning 14 dash titles in a row. That doesn't happen by accident.
No.
We're
very, very good drivers.
We're reminiscent here, Jody. What about Gordie here in his later life? Could you get him out of a hole early, or would he sit in? Or
a little story about Gordie. I wasn't doing any driving anyway. I had a little mare that my wife Shelley and I had, and Blue and Gold was her name. So anyway, we used to go to the paddock, and I had high expectations for this filly. I thought she trained down good. And anyway, so I said, I'm going to give Gordie a chance on her. So anyway, Gordie couldn't drive at the very first start. Gary Chappell drove her, and she made a little skip behind the gate. So anyway, the next start, Gordie drove her, and she went on. She raced okay. So every time I had her in the go, we just get by the eighth ball, it would come Gordie. And so anyway,
just hear a squeak or noise.
So anyway, as time went on, after she had 8 or 9 starts, before the race, I went down and I said, "Listen, I give him $20 to drive," and I used to say,
Shelly did.
Both days, Jack.
Shelly
Jody,
did. Anyway, I said, "Listen, here's $20. All I want you to do today, just don't come out of the hole. Leave it on the fence, please." Anyway, sure enough, 8th pole, out he comes again. So I'm waiting for him, and I said something to him. He said, "Well, you should be driving. Why don't you drive them yourself if you don't like the way I'm driving?" I said, "Well, if I could drive and I was a little lighter, you wouldn't be driving it." So,
yeah.
So, but anyway, no. All in all, Gordie gets along great.
She got. I win a couple of stakes with her. There, Shelly's got a lady slipper cooler there. And stuff. I always wanted one. I got her.
I was looking for the Dairy Queen.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, he and you asked me about his later years. Gordie's getting like the rest of us. He just wants to get around there. He's not as aggressive as he used to be. So
no,
you
you
got
got
to
to have
some
them
more
young fellas
aggressive
on.
fellas on.
Yeah,
he's one of the fellas that does realize that he can't and will get off. There's lots that won't.
Yeah, it does happen. I was going to bring up something. My co-host, which I told Russell yesterday, I said, "Well, you're gonna be former co-host soon, because you haven't done the podcast with me in almost a year." He wanted me to bring up a Jeopardy question because he knows Gordie loves the Jeopardy. And don't worry, but he just said it's a cool little question, so I'm going to pop it into the screen, and if anyone knows it, go ahead and answer it. If you don't, I'll just I don't know. I'll bring it up here in a second. I'm gonna just give me a second.
But before you go any further, they're talking about drivers here in the Maritimes. There's two family members of ours as well that did pretty darn good. Mike Campbell and Kenny Arsnow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, brothers of ours.
How to forget them, Dan? There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Kenny,
know.
Kenny's as good as
drive a horse good as anybody.
Anybody.
Yeah.
He was on top here for a long time.
Glad you chimed in there, Dan, because that's why I hate mentioning people's names, because if they're listening, then they say, "Well, geez,
Never mentioned me."
Yeah.
But
he's right. Kenny can drive as good as anybody, and he's got statistics to show that he could.
Oh yeah, no. He drove some of my uncle's horses there.
Yeah, he won a lot of stake races in St.
Very patient.
Yeah. No,
And Mike Campbell as well, and his brother Huey too worked a lot in the horse business.
Yeah,
all over the country. He was in the States for some time as well.
I'm going to bring up something to you here in a second, Dan. Once we bring this up, I got a question for you. I'm just going to find this.
Jody, I'm not that aggressive out there, am I? Do you ever watch me going? I'm not that
Yeah, you got the holders right back in your pockets. Yeah.
And he doesn't need holders anyway.
Wally says I look like I'm delivering the ham there, but my holders are way up. Get your holders back. Yeah.
Yes. Gordon, when he's out there, guy looks like he got a tray of food in his hand.
That's right. I'm out there paying attention. You seen the holders Dad had me, way up. I'm so used to driving the way up.
And Gordie, Wally doesn't need holders because he's on the front end.
That's right. The only time he takes a hold of is behind the gate for a second.
Takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
I cannot find it, but I got it in front of me. I can't show it, but I'm going to read up the question for you guys. Okay. You guys can still hear me, right? I'm not muted. Okay, good. Who was the little horse from Moncton that Wally, Gordie, and Ron Jamieson all had success with racing high-level classes in the early 1980s? In fact, even Russell could have driven this Sweetheart and no one would have got hurt. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Highland Huser.
Oh, yes.
Highland.
He was a sweet horse, Wally.
Yeah.
Highland Hoosier.
Yeah.
Huser. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
that horse, he won the Wall Hennessey Memorial, that horse.
Okay.
Yeah, Rodney had him first, and then Wally ended up having him in the stable after that. And sometimes Wally had two of them together.
Moncton, Homer Casey, really nice people, and that horse was a sweetheart to drive.
Yeah, he was a real nice horse to drive.
Yeah, real nice little horse to drive.
Yeah,
gave you what he had. Gave you everything he had.
Let me ask you, Dan.
That's all you can ask out of a horse. They all can't go fast, but if they give you, which most of them do, really, if they give you what they got, that's all you can ask out of one. There's reasons why some can go fast and some can't. They all can't go fast. But
let me ask you. Oh, sorry, Wally. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just reminiscing there a little bit.
I just wanted to bring up Stanley Dancer to Danny because I know you guys worked with him a little bit down in Florida.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was probably, and at that point too, we brought along Whitey Ford as well.
Mm-hmm.
Trained a horse for him as well that Stanley had.
Yeah,
that was quite an honor to be involved with Stanley Dancer.
Yeah, because Wally told on the original one there. And I do have a question for you guys, and I don't know if it's one of the sisters. Are you guys somehow related to the O'Briens, the famous racing family? Shelley is. Okay. That's out.
Yeah,
okay.
Shelley come from, their family come from Alberton.
Okay.
And Shelley's mother was an O'Brien.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why, because I know I had read that, and I was doing my research, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm going to bring up your race now, Jody. This is now again, if I have so many races, it's ridiculous. And what's going to happen is once we're done this podcast, I'm going to go, oh shoot, that's a better race to show. But this is a good one here. We'll do the same thing we do with Gordie, so it might lag a little bit. Because talk about this is Winners Accolade, provincial cup. Sorry, Alexander Memorial, 1986. Now, before we get into the race, how did you come about driving Winners Accolades, Jody?
Well,
How'd that happen?
He was quite a horse, Winners Accolade. He was a horse that was probably everybody's dream to drive. I got fortunate to drive him. I had Glenn Reynolds at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Reynolds had got sick. And when Glenn Reynolds got sick, I didn't have anything in that class. And George Cannon come to him and he said, Jody, would you like to drive my Winners Accolade? I said, God, I'd love to drive him. He said, I'm going to put you down to drive him. So I drove Winners Accolade his last 4 starts of his life and won the 4 of them. His last start that I went with was Governor's Plate he win.
Which I have a clip of that too.
He was coming to, after the Governor's Plate, he was going to come for the Gold Cup. He backed him off the trailer after the race, and his hind leg got caught in a spring-loaded trailer, cut his tendon off. He never raced again.
Jesus.
His last race was the Governor's Plate.
I remember
one super horse he was. I think even Gordie could have won with him. Yeah.
He was quite a horse. He was quite a horse. I remember a story. Marcel had Angel's Shadow, and Dougie drove Winners Accolade, and he was in the big the Walterdale. Must have been the year before, but anyway, or not the Walterdale, the Alexander Memorial. And they brought Dougie a lunch pail there full of lunch to tell him to pack a lunch because Marcel wasn't letting him go. And they ended up parking that horse the whole way, and he still won. That's the kind of horse he was. Like,
Super horse.
Yeah, he was.
He dominated at that time.
Yeah, he was.
Definitely.
No question.
Yeah, he was the Pacing Machine, they used to call it.
It was an honor to get to drive him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Being a kid, that was my first real memory of EPR. Because I was born in '78, so I would have been around probably like in the early '80s, but I was young. But I remember Winners Accolade being my favorite horse because he always won. He always won. I'm going to bring it up here, so give me a second. And like I said, like the last one, it might take a second to kick in. But I figured, we'll keep everybody on, like their microphones on, and just chat about it. I thought it was really fun. We did Gordie, so, chat about it. And I don't think there's really much of a race here because I think you just go to the front and stay there the whole time.
Yeah, that was the way he was driven all his life.
Yeah.
He was just that much the best at that time. All you had to do was sit on and steer him.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, don't fall off, like Wally said.
Yeah.
Don't fall off. Yeah.
I'm just going to load it up here.
Drove one with him too as well, Gary McDonald.
It didn't matter.
Let me bring the volume down a bit there. There we go. So keep talking amongst yourself. It's just,
Well, just going back to that era, that grandstand to be full that night. You couldn't get a seat at the top of the park there, wherever at the lounge. You couldn't get in.
Yeah.
I remember there'd be, you'll see going around the turn, there'd be a bunch of people in, all in front here. You see them, those were the good days. They were a lot of good memories.
I love the summer because I could go on the weekdays then.
One thing about the fellow that owned George Cannon, he had to race all one before you went. So
second was no good.
He wasn't. He had him hyped up pretty well.
Yeah, he put a lot in the post calls the week before, but he was good for harness racing because he got people out to the track.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
With his banter.
Well, this horse
too, like he'd be out the front there, and he wouldn't have any more hold than the man in the moon. He didn't take any weight to the reins. If it was going to more than 29 or 32 seconds, he had the same hold of you. You're almost up, but all you had to do when they started coming, just touch him. Yeah, you couldn't be too aggressive. He didn't like the whip.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the last time I drove him, I might have got a fine for kicking him. I had my foot touching him on the ass, and I got a hook. But anyway,
he wouldn't mind paying that though. That wouldn't bother him at all. He wouldn't mind paying that guy. He'd be right over with the 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was quite a horse. And I remember all these races because I'd be on the fence watching Jody. They're pretty proud of him too.
Yeah.
To get a drive like that.
Yeah. Well,
but
I raced against him a lot. Wally raced against him.
Yes,
too,
everybody chased him.
But he was always had a good driver too. Dougie Walsh was nobody's fool.
No, Dougie was a good
horse. Dougie Walsh could drive a horse good as anybody.
Tell a story pretty good too.
Yeah, Dougie was a good story.
But wouldn't lie. That's one thing Dougie wouldn't do.
And I remember one time he was telling me, I said, this horse can leave the gate pretty good. And Dougie says, well, I remember I had a horse. He could leave so fast, the guy in the 2-hole thought he was cutting it out. So Dougie was a good storyteller.
Yeah.
But Jody went off by himself. I went
He
for
was-
the picture that night.
Yeah. I was
So, yeah,
wondering
that basically.
how come he always had a different driver? What was the story with that? I can't remember.
Well, anytime he could beat,
he changed.
he changed the driver, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I never had a chance to drive him. I raced against him lots, a lot of times. And, like Jody said, geez,
Well, he just tuck his ass down like a thoroughbred when he'd want to take off. He just changed gears.
He never first time I drove when I went to the gate, I said to myself, geez, this fella here, I got nothing here. Anyway, I went to the gate, just put his nose on it, and the range was just like elastic, eh? I said, Jesus, he can't. They got halfway down the stretch. He dropped his head down into it. And when the gate left, he had the same hole, nothing.
Yeah.
But he just, all he had to do was ask him, and away he went.
Well, he was a better horse than the horse.
Oh, much better. As I said,
Yeah.
anybody could. I was just lucky enough that I got to drive him. Anybody could have drove him. Everybody did drive him.
He never looked comfortable to me, Jody. The horse
The
never
horse always went with a high head. He looked like to me like he was always.
had a roll on him. I don't know whether we needed all of that, but he never
He looked like he was looking for stars, eh?
Yeah.
But
Couldn't see where he was
he never. But he was always straight on the reins. He never, that I recall.
Well, he must have jumped stuff because
he had to because he had his head right up in the sky.
Shadow, great big shadow roll on him. But
yes, he did, and he was a climber too, eh?
yeah,
He
never really had quick speed, but he
no.
Yeah.
He was steady, like once you had him.
I tried to beat him every which way that I could with whatever horses I had.
He could
Yeah,
take
like
some
I said,
air.
they tried
He
parking
could
him
take
and
air.
He could take a lot of air.
Yeah, you could park with ass to half and you'd still win.
Might win the Gold Cup with him.
Yeah.
But
Mike
he win every
Mike
place.
McDonald, we never even mentioned Mike McDonald there.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yes.
super guy,
Yeah,
best guy in the world.
he won a lot of big races in St. John.
Yeah.
A lot of big
Yeah.
races.
And he was good to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was.
He started all them McDonald's, his brother Paul. They were good drivers and good horse people. They grew up at the track. That's where they grew up. They grew up right. They just lived next door to it. So yeah, all them guys, real good guys. Eh? Where would you get a better guy than Mike McDonald?
Yeah.
If you
Well,
want to
you know the story. That's how I got my colors.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I had Mike. I had colors. I was working with Mike at the time, and when Wally come to St. John, I give him the Wally.
Yeah,
and he had them ever since. So
yeah, I never had any colors, and so that's how that all worked out.
yeah, but anybody that went to Montreal and went up there, the first thing they looked at the bottom of the airport was Mike standing there to pick them up.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the first place you'd go was to get something to eat.
Yeah. Then to his place to stay.
Yeah, you stayed at his place, and if you wanted to go to a hockey game, well, he took you there too. Yeah. So
I heard a story. He was friends. He knew,
guy.
Yeah.
didn't he know Pete Rose? I think Marcel was saying that he
Yes,
knew Pete Rose.
Mike McDonald knew everybody, and
Marcel was
everybody
for
knew
anybody,
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Wow.
was good. Just a super guy. Yeah.
That's
Couldn't
great.
be- Yeah. He's missed. He's very well missed.
I'm going to show a picture here. It's a little small. I can't see it. Let's see what we got here.
Oh God, that's
There's Jody.
now.
I'm
See
in
that
there.
race there? That's my last win,
Okay.
and that's my wife there at the head, Shelley, and yeah, that's the last. That's my one win I got that year. That was my last win, and that was the only win I got that year.
And it was about -40 that night. I remember. I near froze to death.
Yeah.
It was on a New Year's Eve that they started doing those New Year's Eve programs.
Yeah.
there. and which are turned out to be really well attended too here.
And that picture that you seen there, Scott.
Yeah, I'll bring it back up again.
Yeah, that picture. What Gordie was telling you how cold it was. You might think that I'm heavy there. It's the clothes.
Yes. Yeah, and he's got a safety vest.
I got a lot
too.
of clothes under there and the safety
The
vest.
safety
Yeah,
vest.
just so you're thinking, Jesus, that's not Jody.
Well, I was saying last night to Russell Henderson, I had to get him to take me somewhere because my car wouldn't start. It was cold. I said, back in the day, they'd be racing in this. Like, oh, yeah.
Minus
Minus
50. Never closed. Doug, there's one thing about Doug. We raced no matter what.
I seen us in the grandstand in the grader going in front there. We'd be standing
in between dashes.
And you couldn't see that grader.
Yeah.
We went.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one thing Doug never canceled ever.
No, never.
Well, I did a video one time. I don't know what it was. I was going through it, and it was a snowstorm. And I guess you were driving, couldn't see anybody, and poor Ingham's up there trying to call the race, and he doesn't know what's going on. And good God bless Doug. I mean, good for him. That's old school.
It was a great man, Doug Caldwell was good for the race game.
Yes,
Very good. If you were a horse that was any good, he had money on his papers at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Treated everybody equally.
Yes. And if you were getting it tough, all you had to do was go and talk to him.
Yeah.
And he'd help you out the best he could.
Well, he did a lot for this sport because I
Yes,
mean,
he
you
did.
look.
Well, you listen. When Doug Caldwell left there, that's when she started to drop off.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing about Doug. We had a hockey team. He paid for everything. People don't realize that. He paid for all our hockey, and there was a baseball team played in the summer too as well in St. John, and he paid for all that. There was a bowling league. He paid for all that for all the horsemen. He done a lot of stuff for horsemen. I've seen him. Guys would come over to race there from the island, and we used to have there used to be an old pump there beside his office there with gasoline in it. He'd tell them pull over there and fill up your horse truck. He done a lot of stuff.
Yes,
people don't realize.
Well, he was a smart businessman. He wanted them back
and done it all. He was the face of it all. He was at the canteens, everything.
Yeah,
it was just if you wanted something, you seen Doug. Doug was the man.
Yeah,
him and his wife. His wife worked out with him too for an.
I remember being a little.
Barbie was there as a kid, but they were two people that worked hard at the race business, and he was going big guns back then.
I remember being a little one, and he chased me around a little bit.
That's Scott. Just let me.
Go ahead.
In that,
yeah, sure.
My father-in-law, Doug, and Verna, like they operated that place like they owned it, but Doug was in charge, and that was the bottom line, and that's the only way anything can be successful. But he was also smart enough to hire the right people, and like Ingham Palmer and Howie Trainer and all the mutual staff, the kitchen,
Stan.
and the maintenance people and the kitchen staff and the bartenders and the people on the doors at the lounge area. He was very, very sharp and was hands-on in all of the above, and he was the biggest reason I wasn't there that long, but the years that I was there, he was the major reason why it was called the Giant. Time racing. Also, he took care of the media. Ingham being part of that media, but Doug Harkness and Ken Starrett, and all the above. Whenever they'd journey over to Exhibition Park, he made sure that the media was taken care of and treated properly like they should be, because they were the ones that were putting us in the limelight. So, no, very much. And Verna was a big part of that. She worked side by side with him her whole life. Both of them deserved a lot of credit for what they done. And what they created there, what they created.
I've even said, and I'm going to say, and I might take heat for this. I said, we're in a situation, like you said, Joey, I'm not just saying this to like suck up I'm being honest. People can confirm it. I've said numerous times, this place is in the shape it's in, is it should be run the way Doug Hall ran it. It should be run professionally, and it should be run.
Well, he was the man.
A lot more seriously.
He run it. It was him that run it. And there was no other way to do things.
And he got things done. Things were done. If it needed to be done, it was done. It wasn't left till tomorrow or the next day. Or
no, and he knew who all the big bettors were too, and they were taken care of too. They had a table there and stuff like that. He knew who was betting every dollar. Like he was on top of everything.
A lot of islands went there.
Yeah,
truck over.
You know, because if we don't have the people coming out to bet, we got nothing, right? So
well, exactly.
You know,
and you mentioned that about the betting. I'm going to bring this up, then we'll jump into something there. You guys can keep going. I was at EPR a lot the last couple of years. It was there because we was shut down. And I remember being in the sulk room and seeing a couple gentlemen who were betting tons of money, and they were being ignored. I'm like, why are they being ignored? These guys are bringing start giving them free stuff, give them a free drink.
Yeah,
they exist.
Table of drinks, exactly.
Give them a free program.
It's just a small little thing like that goes a long way.
It's in the, you know what, if they're watching, I don't really care if people are watching this and think I'm being negative. It makes me a little angry that it's not hard. I worked in customer service for a long time. There's ways to treat people, especially people that bring you money in. You don't ignore them. But either way, Doug was a fantastic man. I only remember Doug once. He chased me out of the I was being a little brat, and I'm pretty sure he chased me around to get probably went to my grandfather and said, "Get your kid under control." A very good band. So I was going to go into a few more. We're kind of just breaking it down a little bit. Like we've skipped a lot of stuff, but what was I going to say? The Gold Cup and Saucer. I mean, Wally, you've won it twice. Jody, you've been in it twice. You were in there with Christopher C. Dan. More times. You were in there in the early 70s too, were you not?
I was in it 8 or 9 times.
Okay.
I never was fortunate enough to win it, but it wasn't, I guess, about the winning. It's the fact that I was in it. It was quite a show, and just to be in it was when we were younger was quite a privilege, and it still is right today. If you're lucky enough to have a horse that participates, well, I'm in the Gold Cup. It didn't matter, you know. But no, I was fortunate enough to be second twice. Yeah, Wally's won it a couple of times, but no, it's a race that everybody likes to be in, and everybody would like to win.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's I have my grandfather's trophy in the living room of the '74 one.
Yeah.
And they gave me that, and that's my little pride and joy. I was going to bring up something. Now, Wally, to go to you, and Gordie also. Gordie, have you drove in the Gold Cup?
No, never did. I had a couple of horses in the trials, and never ever made it. You know, one horse I had that probably had a really good shot was Military Man.
Okay.
Chatham Knight. I had them both at the same time for the same owner, and you're only allowed to put one horse, so we put Military Man in, and geez, you get hurt. Warming up there, get out and stumbled and hurt himself, couldn't go. So that was actually the only time I had a real chance of getting in. And that happened to Wally earlier on in his career too, with one of Romeo's horse, Pen to Play, which was a nice race horse, really nice horse.
Yeah. Now, was that in 81? I have you in 81, Wally, with Pen and Play, I think, in the Gold Cup. I'm pretty sure it was 81. That's the year that Henry Butler won it with Stevie.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That same horses kind of competed against each other week in and week out then. Jody always had a horse in there, but Gordie had autopilot there for a while.
They call them circuit horses. They used to the same 6 or 8 horses.
And they go around all the
They
tracks.
go to all the maritime tracks.
You had to be invited actually back then. You couldn't just go and race in a race now enter them. You had to be invited. And it was quite a thing. And to be invited, that was an honor to be invited to go to a track.
And Gordie had autopilot. He was competitive.
He was
Wally.
my first free-for-all winner.
Yeah.
Wally actually drove
used
the
to
horse. And Wally got me the drive.
Yeah.
He had another one of Donnie Galbraith in the same class. And Romeo said, "Are you sure he's going to be all right? Like, you know, do you think he'd be all right to drive?" And Wally said, "Put him on. He'll get the job done."
Yeah.
Anyways, he raced good. Jody was in that same race, and Wally, the three of us. I wish he would have had that. It was a horse by the name of Autopilot.
What year was that?
It was in the early 80s.
Yeah, it's tough to get to. Anything before 84 is pretty rough.
Yeah, all three of us win it. That was the Alexander Memorial, which was one of the biggest races in the Maritime at the time.
You know what? Not to cut you off, Gordie.
Yeah.
I have it in my list, and I'll tell you something. I apologize for cutting you off, Gordie.
Yeah, that's okay.
The sad thing is that I know exactly what you're talking about. You had Special Reward, Wally had Pen and Play. Was that the same one? The Alexander Memorial was 82?
That was a different one. Actually, that's not a very good story. That one.
Okay, go ahead. Keep telling your story then. I apologize. Keep going.
I'll tell you the story with that one. I just got Special Reward, and it was one of my first drives in an invitational race. And he had the rail, and when I scored him out, I didn't like him. Wally, how is he? Wally said to me, you know. I said, geez, I don't know. I don't like him. And Jody was listening in. We were waiting on the backstretch to go to the gate. Anyways, they left out of there, and I was the only one that didn't leave. Or they left out. The rest didn't leave, and there were some good horses in us. Saul's Pride.
Yeah.
And, what was the name of the other one there? The chestnut horse there that Francis had. Real good horse.
Another Mac.
No,
Columbus Seals.
Really nice horses. And anyways, my horse made a break in first turn. I cleaned them all out.
Okay.
First turn. The only two that get behind me was Jody and Wally, and then they ended up first and second. There's a fella come out of the barn after there, hung me up there. He was right dirty. He was a big better, right? And he can over. Anyway, yeah. So anyways, he come over, had me, hung me up. And Tony Haig was in the barn. Tony seen what was going on. The fella had a hold of me, And I roared to Janice Hubbard there. She was helping me, and I said, "Go get Wally." This was a great big fella, Anyways, he had a hold of me. Tony noticed that he was had a hold of me, and he came down the back of the barn there, dropped the fella, knocked him out in a shit pile. There was a shit pile. The fella never stopped till he hit that shit pile. Yeah. Anyways, he never bothered me again, that fella. But that was one of my first invitational races, which I felt so bad after because I took a lot of nice horses out of that race.
That happens, It's
But anyway, Wally and Jody were all right. They were first and second.
Yeah. I seen the list.
We thought it was a great drive.
Great drive. Yeah.
I seen the house because I made the article. I went through the Telegraph Journal because I had actually had the audio for it that I thought I recorded.
Well, lucky job we don't have that one. That's the one I don't want to rehash.
Reminisce about it.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair enough.
There's a lot of big betters, and they didn't take too kindly to stuff happening out there.
Well, I guess your brother's coming first and second. They might be like, "What's this guy doing?" So that's why. But yeah, no, I get it. No, definitely. Yeah. I'm gonna bring up one more thing that we'll go to Wally's race, and we'll keep going. I don't want to there's so much we could go for hours. Basically.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot of material us.
I'm gonna bring up this little documentary with your father, with Joe. Gordie, you're in it. Wally, you're in it. Jody, you're not in it. You might be missing an action in this one. It's a little. What's that?
That's okay.
It's a little bit low in volume. I'll try to make it. It's the way it was filmed. It was low in volume when it was recorded, but it's coming up right now. It's about 2 minutes, 24 seconds.
Their lives for generations to the sport of harness racing is the Hennesseys of Charlottetown. Joe Hennessey recalls the days of his father after the war.
It was more or less like a sport. It was really sport. All the old fellas wanted to do was have the best horse. To be able to go out and then say, well, I get the best horse, you know what I mean? They wanted to blow about it, and that was it. But after the war, and as the time went on down to the 40s and 50s, it got to be a business, and it got costly. In them days, everybody had a horse anyway, like you'd have a car today. You know, half the people do the they done all their work, when they go to the store or anything, they went by horse, you know, not by cars. And horses were a big thing.
Joe Hennessey himself is a great horseman who says the secret is the love of horses.
In a race, if you figure you have the best horse, we'll say in the race, you know, you look over the program, you figure, well, I think I got a good chance of winning this race. Well, you got to leave off the gate good. You got to get up the front end. If you have the best, you got to drive them like the best. And every horse race is different. Some horses leave fast, and then they just can't get home that good. And other horses leave slow, and they get home like oh heck. So you got to try to get that fella in position that can finish and don't get caught in with him. And the other fella, you got to get to the front, and then you got to try to ease him up, set down, and try to save a little speed for coming home.
You're right keyed up and everything like that, and you're not aware of anything that's going on around you. You can't even hear the announcer announce the race. All you can hear is what's around you, the 2 or 3 horses that are around you, and you can't see what's coming behind you. So you got to try to judge your race and what's in front of you.
If you're in a race and your horse, he doesn't look like he belongs in that class, it doesn't matter who drives him. You won't get anything with him. But you can put any one of these, a lot of drivers around here up on a horse anywhere in the world, and if he can win, they can win with him.
There's a lot of guys can drive a horse. They wouldn't even have to be looking at the horse to know if he's going to make a break. They can feel it in their hands.
they were looking backwards. I think they could tell. That's a guy that really, you know, is a good, what you call a real good horse driver.
Throughout the week.
Scott, that was me with the broken arm.
Yeah.
Was that the major with that?
What's with the broken arm? I thought Wally had the broken arm.
The cart.
That's when I get into the accident in the first trial, and that was all homework that was taped.
Okay.
And, yeah, I broke my wrist. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it was in '88, I think. I found that Earl Fram gave me a bunch of videos to do for him. I'm like, oh yeah, and I was going through and I seen that. I'm like, whoa, what's this? Like, and I was gonna mention to you, Gordie, because I'm trying to get everything in here. Yeah. You drove some horses. You drove Black Bow Tie for Earl a little bit, didn't you?
Yes, I drove quite a few for Earl there. Like a couple of nice horses for Earl. Like, Steve Maher was his main man for the stake races, which is, you know, you can't deny that. Steve Maher, one of the best drivers there ever was in the Maritimes. He was his first choice, but I was always second. It's not too bad when you're sitting two in behind Steve Maher.
And I have a picture of that horse.
Quite a few for Earl.
Here's a picture right here coming up.
Yeah.
And let's see what.
Yeah, that's all homemade there.
I'll tell you who that is. That's Tainted Tuna.
No, that's Black Bow Tie, wasn't it, Earl? Yeah.
Black Bow Tie, yeah. Sorry, I should say the name of the horse. Yeah.
Tainted Tuna.
Yeah, and he had another good mare there too. I can't remember what I drove for Earl. I'm not good with names, but she was a really nice mare.
I did all his tapes. Yeah, it's funny. I did his tapes. I dropped the flash drive to his daughter, and then I got more tapes, and I found more stuff. So I had to go back and get the flash drive, put more stuff on it. But he has some really nice horses. So I'm going to throw one more race on over the. This is the same thing where everyone could just talk during it. This is a little different. This is Wally. I don't know if you remember this Wally being mic'd up. Do you remember being mic'd up a little while back, about a year or two ago?
Oh yeah, that you mean in the States here?
Yeah. Someone might jump. You know, we have so many year races. I've skipped over stuff. I've skipped over a bunch of videos. We just kept going. I just thought it was kind of cool to show this one for people. And again, you know, same as before, just talk over it. It's gonna lag because we got a bunch of screens going at once. But I'm gonna bring it up here, and I'm gonna show a few pictures before too. So give me a second here. Let me just find the video file. All right, there you are. And we'll wait about a minute and a half for it to load up.
Not too bad.
That's, you know, we're putting on in here. It was a pleasure and an honor, Scott.
Oh, and, 1 second, Wally. Let me just bring the volume down on that.
Okay.
I'll pause it for you, Wally. Hold on a second here.
Oh,
go ahead, Wally. I apologize. No, you can go ahead and say what you're saying, Wally. The video came up.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be on here with you guys today. And I'll tell you, it's a pleasure and honor racing, you know, with Jody and Gordie. You know, like them races that Gord was talking about, they were never pre-planned. Just the way
no. I was being sarcastic. No, I don't know. No, everyone knows it wasn't.
You know, but you know, we took a lot of flack because you know we were brothers and we were good at what we done. So
we came from a good father too that knew a lot.
Misconception that something was pre-planned, but you know, I can say honestly that you know it never was pre-planned, but it was to race with my brothers and my father a little bit. I didn't ride against my father much, but it was a pleasure, and I'm sure they feel the same way.
So I got to come back to that with the father things. I never even thought of that. So Jody and Wally and Gordie, did all of you drive against the father, or just Stuvius? Like how'd that work?
I drove a lot against Dad.
How'd that go?
Well, as good as could be expected. He was, I think that's where I got that maybe driving one or two at the same time.
Yeah.
When I used to be racing, I got up alongside of Dad. He'd just say, sit there, and I would sit there. And so anyway, no, my father was a great mentor. Was so lucky to have a father like that. So.
How about you, Wally? How was it with you driving against him?
I tell you, I can't remember much about that. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure I raced against him. But like Jody said, he was pretty articulate, you know, in the race. He didn't say much before, much after, but while he was actually in the action, he was kind of trying to give you the play-by-play.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a little bit of this too, I think, in this video, Wally, with you doing the mic'd up thing. So maybe that's where you get it from. And Gordie, did you drive against him yourself, or was he already retired by the time you started driving?
I never drove against my father ever. Like at the end, he was giving me a few drives, like, he was done driving then.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to bring this video on real quick here, and you guys can talk over it here. I think we should get some. I brought the sound down a little bit. Yeah. Harry Terror is the name of the horse. Where's this at? Why is this in Florida?
Yeah, that's it. No, this is Tioga Downs, and it was a little promotional thing. Well, not promotional. Like the guy wanted to mic me up, and I just give the play-by-play of the race, and it actually came out pretty. It came out very good. Just goes.
Yeah, it's not this laggy in the video. Keep going.
Yeah. No, I was just kind of saying what how things were happening right live there, and I was talking through the race, and just so happened that was the only time I ever was mic'd, and the horse that was the best race the horse ever went in his life.
It's a very cool thing that you did that.
Yeah, no, but they did. I wasn't the only one that put the mic on. They did it with a whole lot of different people, but that was kind of fun. I don't really like to do that stuff, to be honest. That was fun.
Yeah, no.
Geez, sound like somebody had you by the wall.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty excited right here when
we can't see it.
Yeah. I thought right about here, I still had a real good shot of winning, and you guys know what that feeling's like. So
absolutely,
yeah, you can't beat that feeling, no matter how much the purse is. If it's $200,
even if you're standing on the sidelines, it's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're involved with a horse and he's heading down the stretch, there's
no
no better feeling.
Exactly.
My wife, Scott, always says, watch quite a bit of the races on Saturday, and Shelley always says she can't understand why some of the fellas don't go down with their horses, go down, and they don't go down and get their picture taken with them. She couldn't wait to get down if we won one. And,
I told the story a couple times when my father, because I came around 83, I can't remember now, but I vividly remember being 5 or 6 years old. And this poor man, Wally, actually made him finish second a couple times. Wally made it to be in bad one race against him. I remember the last podcast, he talked about keeping him in there. But I remember one race, he won finally. He won with Jesuits Creek, because it's funny, I found the program. And I was in the grandstand, and I swear I ran it down so fast to get my picture taken with that man. I booted down through that grandstand as quick as I could. And it was funny. A gentleman brought me over 250 EPR programs last week, 250 of them. And I was looking through them, and I found, because I've been looking for this race forever, and it was June 8th, 1985, and I finally found it in the program. So, but I get, like you were saying, like not getting a picture taken, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If I had a horse that won 100 times, I get my picture taken.
Well, that's the way she felt too, and she couldn't understand why some of them don't. You got to get their picture taken.
So I was thinking to kind of finish it up, and again, we've left a lot of stuff out. I apologize, guys. And again, like I was telling, I think I sent Wally some DVDs. I'm going to do it for all you guys too. Some flash drives with all your pictures and your videos and stuff on it, almost as like a thank you for doing the podcast. Yeah.
Scott, thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate what you're doing.
Appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime you need anything that we can help you with,
just holler.
Yeah, we're here.
I was thinking at the end, if everyone's cool with this, like, I mean, I know like Joey Lynn's there and your wife, so if everyone wants to come in, if they want to come in, if they don't want to come in at the end, that's fine. But everyone kind of come in at into the screen if they want. It's up to you guys.
The whole family's
yeah.
And if Wally, if your wife wants to come in, daughter, that's up to them. Whatever. Just so I bring everybody in.
Can you get in?
Christy, I'd like you to. Hey, Scott. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. Wait till Christy goes over. Here, Christy.
Yeah, so if everyone, we'll let Wally go first, and he can introduce everybody in the picture.
There's more.
Okay, there's
Hi, guys. Go on this side, Charlie. Go
Okay.
So
Here's Dolly. Here's Dolly, Joe.
She's all trimmed up.
You can't get Brenda in. There's Brenda.
Here's Christy.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott. The boys already. The boys already. Hi, Cece.
Hi.
Everyone's kind of
here,
crazy.
Scott.
Hi, Scott.
What's up? Hi.
Hi, Shelley.
Oh, hi, sir. Nice to finally see you. We've been talking over texting all week.
Scott, the boys already. Oh, and here's him.
Okay.
Him.
That's
But Scott, the boys already mentioned it there. But thanks for having us on. But more so than that, thanks for keeping the history of not just Exhibition Park Raceway, which you do that mostly, but just for keeping this history alive. Because there's not many people that really are interested in doing that, Scott, quite frankly. And I think it's very important to have this kind of stuff. And I don't think anybody really realized the work that you're putting in to do this. And it's not you're being paid for it. You're doing it because of the love of the game and because of your family that was involved. And I think anybody that has been a part of your sessions like this, or they all know how much work you put into it, and we're all very thankful and grateful, and keep doing it because we really need this. We really need history.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I'll keep doing it because I have, like I said, I have 250 programs in a box right now.
Thanks very much, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. And thank you for coming on, everybody. Everyone have a great day.
Yeah,
thanks
again. Bye, guys. Bye, Scotty.
Right.
Thanks, Mark. See you guys.
Take care.
Okay,
Take
well,
care, guys.
yeah. Bye, Bart. Bye, Kirsty.
Bye.
Bye. See you guys later. Bye.
Good job, guys.
Great job.
Thanks again, guys. All right. So that was the History EPR podcast with the Hennessey brothers. I know we skipped over a lot of material. We could have went on for probably 5 hours, everybody, but we got about 2.5 in. So I appreciate everybody that watched, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page and go on the History EPR Facebook page also. Like I said, we have tons of programs, post calls coming up, pictures. Every day it's something new. So, and again, I appreciate all the kind words everybody gives me. So until next time, we'll see you again in another episode of the History of EPR podcast.
Just watch it live at Exhibition Park. Come on and live it at Exhibition Park. The real life fun of harness racing.
Here they come.